We got Billy. Daddy slab on me. I'm a back, yeah. Shawty pop a bean. Christy up my jeans. Shawty gon' fuck on me. Shawty gon' fuck the team. When they beat my team, do my slime. On them pigs, play. On them pigs, yeah. On them pigs, from the flick, yeah. Love these, got Max, yeah. Shawty slide on me. I'm a back, yeah. Shawty pop.
We don't get to choose our time. Death is what gives life meaning. To know your days are numbered. Your time is short.
How are you?
What is going on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hooray! I did it right.
Yeah. I'm on Restream.
Restream. It looks
Yeah.
pretty cool.
The
Looks pretty cool.
StreamYards, the free version, is only 5 hours a month now.
For free, 5 hours a month. That's not a lot.
5
Burn
hours.
that up in one night.
Yeah. So I tried using EVMux, EVMUX, but I can't use it without
Do I have to take
Chrome.
notes?
Yeah, EVMUX.
I have to take notes.
But I couldn't use it because Chrome didn't work.
EVUMX.
EVMUX.
Okay,
So I went with
And that's what we're on right now.
No, we're on Restream right now.
Restream. Okay,
Yeah.
looks good. What's
Yeah, I
on
don't
your
know.
mind?
I want to talk a little bit about the Kennedy shenanigans today.
Okay, I know they were released. I haven't read any of them, and I'm not real knowledgeable about the actual assassination.
Yeah, the first tranche was like all the old stuff from the 90s and some from 2022 or something like that. I don't know.
JFK Jr. called Joe Biden a traitor, or something like that.
Yeah, that's old though.
In the
That's
70s.
real old.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did it change anything for you? Did you read any of it?
Yeah. I went through a bunch of it, and then one of the guys I follow on the internet, on Telegram, has compiled a good list, and I wanted to go over that list. He started himself because it's quite good. He's essentially going file by file. But one of the things I wanted to go over with you, since you hopped on, which I think is hilarious.
You sent me a link. You sent me a link. It looked different than the others, and I was like, all right, I'll try this out.
Yeah, and then so what do you? Where can I find this?
I think Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy. I think it was a straightforward assassination. I haven't done any of the forensic research or any of that stuff. But he
got shot from the front. There's two bullet holes in the windshield. One bullet hit the driver and the other hit Kennedy in the throat. And if you look at the one video, the passenger Secret Service agent has a like a pneumatic gun, like it's like an air gun. And if you watch, he leans over and shoots Kennedy in the side of the head
with an air gun, and that's what made his
with a pneumatic.
brains blow out all over.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Kennedy.
And then she tries to escape the car because she knows that they're going to try and kill her too. And she gets shoved back into the car
By the Secret Service, I think.
by Secret Service.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting
So
things.
forensically, it's proven that there were 2 bullet holes in the windshield.
Yeah, that's why they replaced the windshield. So that's from the other dump that happened when Trump was in his first term. That information was released then.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
But it was also known through the Kennedy autistic community that 2 bullet holes went through the windshield.
And that's in the Kennedy files? That there were 2. That's in the files.
What I have read tonight, that has not been discussed. It's mainly a lot of espionage. So at
So with the
7:30,
theory that you want to check out against what we think is the real file.
these are real files. They're real files.
All right.
But I wanted to go over this real quick. So hold on. So Chris Cuomo. Oh, that was him. So Chris Cuomo had Steve Bannon on tonight, and they talked about him running a third term. So I kind of wanted you to hear this.
Cracks me up. How can they do that constitutionally?
So the only thing that you're not going to like talking about, we'll talk about first. I'm watching CPAC, and they put up a poll of potential, next generation, right? Post-Trump. You are second on the list after the VP as people getting the nod at CPAC to be president. A lot of people were surprised by this. My first question, you have anything to do with putting your name in that list because you have presidential ambitions?
No. And President Trump, I'm a firm believer that President Trump will run and win again in 2028. So I've already endorsed President Trump. A man like this comes along once every century if we're lucky. We've got him now. He's on fire, and I'm a huge supporter. Want to see him again in 2028.
And
He's getting up when I'm trying to show him the audio of this. So I'll pause it as he leaves. We'll put some talk over it. Are you back? Now you're muted.
I went to go get my Constitution.
Okay, well, let's listen to the rest of this.
All right.
obviously, anybody who doesn't like what you say but judges it as a function of a lack of intelligence doesn't know anything about you. I don't make that mistake. You're a smart guy. You know he's term limited. How do you think he gets another term?
We're working on it. I think we'll have a couple of alternatives. Let's say that. We'll see. We'll see what the definition. We'll see what the definition of term. We'll see what the definition of term limit is.
All right. Well, so you're talking about litigating this issue because I don't want people to listen to our interview and say Bannon's cooking up an insurrection. Bannon is cooking up. You know what I mean? I want people to get a straight take on where your head is. What are you suggesting?
Chris, as you know, I've had greater long shots.
All right. What's that? Yeah, that's amendment number 12, number 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's called an amendment.
Right. But those are the term limits that.
Yeah, and you and I have gone back and forth, and that's vaguely worded. But you remember, it's an amendment to the Constitution. You can have another amendment to the Constitution.
I know. There was a couple more. It goes up to what?
Than this.
28
Yeah.
amendments. Yeah.
So let's finish this real quick.
We supported President Trump after the election. I realize you don't believe the election in 2020 is stolen. We do. We fervently believe that. When President Trump went back to Mar-a-Lago on January 20th, 2021, he was the longest of long shots to return to the White House. We said that day in our podcast and doubled down having President Trump's back, that he was coming back not just to win the primary, he would win the White House, and we had to get organized and drive that victory and also start working on all the policies. What's called Project 2025 or the America First Policy Institute, but all those different think tanks that started putting in the policies that you're seeing today in what we call Flood the Zone or Days of Thunder or however you want to describe it. But this is many years in the making. So we've had greater long shots than Trump 2028, and we've got a lot of stuff we're working on there. We're not prepared to talk about it publicly, but in a couple of months, I think we will be.
A couple of months.
What up? What up?
What do you think about that, Anthony?
Hey, Anthony.
How you doing, brother? I missed exactly what they were talking about.
He wants to run in 2028.
2028. Trump,
Who?
2028.
Trump.
He wants to run for a third term?
Yep.
Steve Bannon wants him to run for a third term.
Oh, all right. I was going to say, wait a minute.
I don't know if Trump does. He might say he does, but I don't know.
Yes, he will. I think he will.
You know,
it only makes sense.
He'll test it. He'll push those buttons.
So I
Yeah,
wanted to go ahead.
The 22nd Amendment.
Yeah, there might be a new amendment to it.
Okay. 2/3 of the states.
We shall see. All right, so I wanted, I'm scrolling up still because there's a lot of files, Oh, so at 7:30, there was about,
AM.
no, 7:30 tonight.
Oh.
There was, no, at 7 o'clock tonight, there was 32,000 pages released. And at 10:30, there was another 31,000 pages released. And we're nowhere near getting a grasp on that.
16,000 pages. Well, because they keep adding to it over the years, right?
Well, there's supposedly about 70 to 80,000 pages of documents. Is what's been thrown around the ether, and they've put
That's
out.
all? Is that a lot for something like this? Only 80,000 pages? I mean, pages, not ones and zeros. 80,000 pages. That's not a lot of information. It just makes it hard to go through and look at it and analyze it.
Well, people are going through it page by page tonight, and so what we can do, we can start off with the first couple pages. Let me mute this real quick. So here in each file has a source file underneath it, so you can actually track it on the actual DOJ webpage. So a newly declassified CIA document confirms U.S. officials closely monitored Lee Harvey Oswald's movements in Helsinki. The document shows Oswald visits the Soviet consulate and his rapid travel timeline. Officials even track passengers' lists and taxi times, including a detailed effort to piece together Oswald's activities leading to JFK's assassination. This file shows that the CIA and the State Department were monitoring his Soviet connections. The newly declassified memo reveals on November 23rd in 1963, just one day before Lee Harvey was shot, an anonymous caller warned the FBI Dallas office that someone was going to kill Oswald. The memo states that the call came from a man talking in a calm voice who said the FBI should do something because the same group that killed Kennedy would target Oswald. Despite this, no extra security was provided, and Oswald was shot by Jack Ruby the next day. Here's another interesting document. I haven't seen this particular document before, so that's interesting. A newly declassified memo shows the CIA tracking reports from the Italian Communist Party's publication, Renascentia, I suppose, which openly accused the CIA of orchestrating the assassination of JFK. Writer Gianfranco Corsini speculated that the U.S. intelligence agencies conspired to kill Kennedy, and the CIA flagged these claims as dangerous propaganda, highlighting fears that the communist disinformation campaigns would fuel global suspicions about U.S. involvement in JFK's death. Lee Harvey met with Valery Kostkov, a KGB officer tied to Soviet assassination operations in the Soviet embassy in Mexico just weeks before JFK died. What's interesting is because there's other memos that had him. There are other documents that back up what this document is saying, I would suppose. The files also included warnings about Oswald's violent intentions, and apparently he was a assassin. So
and his first kill was the president of the United States. He's an assassin.
He
wasn't an assassin until he killed the president.
I don't think he ever killed the president. He never shot the president.
So he's not an assassin in any sense.
Yeah, he was just he was a puppet. Yeah, he was a puppet. Okay, so here's a document about the CIA watching Oswald. They watched his visits to Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City and was worried about his connections to foreign spies. One document shows that U.S. feared that Oswald had ties to secret KGB assassination unit. A British newspaper received an anonymous call 25 minutes before JFK was assassinating, warning that big news from the U.S. was coming. According to the document, a Cambridge news reporter was told to call the American embassy in London for some big news before abruptly hanging up. After JFK was shot, the British intelligence alerted the FBI about the strange call. I thought that was kind of, because like the British intelligence essentially helped set up the CIA through MI5, SIS, MI6.
Who hired Jack Ruby to kill Oswald?
So it kind of gets into his paranoia a little bit down the line, which is interesting. And it kind of fits into a documentary I saw a few years ago about the whole, like Kirby was a big gambler, and the people that he was around were tied to the men that JFK had said that he would work with. And it turns out JFK, as soon as he became president, he just cut him off. And I find it very odd that Jack Ruby is associated with those people.
Okay.
The gamblers and the, because remember, you were just coming out of Prohibition. So because John F. Kennedy's father was an illegal alcohol mover during the Prohibition, and he also ran brothels. And so that
bad Catholic. Must be a Jesuit.
I don't think he was a Jesuit. Never seen anything like. I mean, he is Catholic, so he was probably some Catholic thing, but wasn't Jesuit. After the JFK was assassinated, the Soviet. This was one that I found was interesting. I haven't seen this document before either. And this one was just unclassified in 2016. So after JFK was assassinated, the Soviet Union feared a rogue U.S. general might launch a nuclear strike in retaliation. The memo details how Soviet officials believed JFK murder was a part of an extremist plot, and that the real danger was the unbalance of the U.S. military officers using it as an excuse to start World War III. Soviet intelligence quickly moved to calm tensions, fearing the overreaction from Washington. The document suggests that the Kremlin was more worried about the out-of-control American response than being blamed for killing Kennedy himself. So I found that very strange. We
got Praetor and Courtney in the house.
What's up, y'all? Yeah, I'm on a new thing. I may not be able to. Gotta click that button. Huh?
So, Gay Dollar, how many people killed Kennedy? How many shots? If you said 3, 2 in the window, and then somebody with an air gun.
So the guy in the car, the guy across the way shot directly into the windshield. Lee Harvey was in the other building, and then you supposedly had someone in the conspiracy theory realm way back in the day of someone being on the grassy knoll. Because you supposedly saw smoke come out of the grassy knoll from a firing as well. But I believe that the only 2 shots that hit Kennedy was the one that hit him in the neck through the windshield, and then the one where you see the Secret Service agent bending over and just hitting him in the side of the head. I believe those are the 2 shots. And then they potentially replace his brain, as Roger Stone said today on the Benny Johnson show. And you remember Cooper, James, you remember from the 90s, and they ended up killing him? The guy who wrote Behold a Pale Horse?
Yeah. What the hell was his name?
Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper also talked about the second passenger shooting Kennedy in the head. And that's why that Zapruder film is so edited, because the Zapruder film, and that's why it took about 5 or 6 years after his assassination, because they had to cut the part out where the guy actually recorded the Secret Service agent going like this, just shooting him in the head. So that's why the Zapruder film is such a
So
treasure.
there's another recording of the assassination that we haven't seen.
No, there's uncut Zapruder film, and then there's the cut Zapruder film. In the uncut version, you can see the Secret Service agent popping him in the head, because that was declassified in like 1998, I think, or 95, or some shit like that.
What do you think, Anthony? Who do you think killed Kennedy? I'm sorry, Dark Gift.
You can call me Anthony.
What?
No?
Call me Tim.
What you call it? Who do I think? I mean, I think it was an inside job. I just couldn't tell you who.
Oh yeah,
I think it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I think he acted alone for his own
Impossible.
motivations. And
Impossible.
it's the most plausible.
So have you seen his? You saw the rifle that he had, right?
I've heard about it. I don't
The
know. what
rifle
kind it
that
is.
you have with the shadow over his nose, and he's holding a newspaper up, and he has the rifle.
Pull it up. Do you have an image of that?
Anyway, that's the image that everyone knows. And then you also have the gun from the tower, or from the second or third floor that he was in, that he shot from. Those two guns, when you shoot somebody with that gun, the exit would explode outward. You know what I'm
It
saying?
kind of did out the back of his head. It got all over
No,
Jackie's
that
dress.
he got shot in the head and moved back, and he got shot from the driver.
Yeah, that's what never made sense, because Oswald was
That-
behind him.
Yeah,
And above. So if he shot him, he would have went like that.
yeah.
Oh,
Would've
is
went
that
down?
is that right? Because I haven't examined the CSI evidence, but okay. So when
Most of the
Oswald
CSI
when Oswald took a shot, it was at the back of Kennedy's head, and
I
not
don't
the
think that-
front of Kennedy's head.
If he took a shot, even if it's hypothetically speaking,
Or the
if
side.
Oswald took a shot and it would have hit Kennedy, it would have hit him in the top of the back of the head back here,
Yeah.
and his head would have went down.
But it did go back, didn't it?
It went back, and his brains
so did
were
the
all over
splatter.
the trunk of the car. You
Yes.
see friggin'
And all
Jackie
over
trying to
Jackie's
scoop it
dress.
all up.
Where
And you remember-
LBJ is being
You remember when he got shot in the neck too? The back
sworn in
of
as
his
president. She's covered in it.
when he got shot in the neck, and I'll show the video in a minute. When he's initially shot in the neck through the windshield, the caliber of that weapon is so small that it doesn't. There's no
Exit
wound. Exit. There's no. And the gun that he has, that bullet caliber is far too large.
Did Oswald shoot
for it
Kennedy?
not- No, he got shot from the front, straight through
No.
the windshield, and Oswald was behind him.
Okay, so
To the left.
did Oswald miss or did he hit?
Yeah, I don't think he ever hit him.
He missed.
Never hit him.
I personally think I don't even know if he even took a shot. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Richard
So
Tube
if
said
you-
the Jews stole my left foot and replaced it with the foot of a Belgian.
That wasn't very nice.
That's a very weird statement to make. Like, why the left foot and why a Belgian?
Oh man, where is it? I had the video. I should have saved it, but I have the Zapruder film.
Yeah, let's
Um,
pull it up.
we'll find it in a minute. We'll find it. We're going back to here.
Now I kind of want to watch the film.
And also, you got to remember, they were in big arguments to take the cab off the top of the convertible.
Yeah.
And it was
I remember hearing that.
it was Kennedy's Secret Service main man who convinced Kennedy to keep the cab top off of. So you
It was the
had
Secret Service that said, "No, you don't need a top. You don't need a bulletproof."
he was the one who convinced.
Well, when was the before then? When was the last presidential attempted assassination?
Trump.
No. Before Kennedy was
Oh,
assassinated.
before Kennedy?
Yeah. When was the?
They've tried to probably kill every single damn president there's ever been.
They got lax. I know, but
MacArthur
we know now.
or McKinley. McKinley was assassinated.
Yeah.
Buchanan, I think, not Buchanan. You had that one guy who was elected and he died within a month of being in there.
He
Killed
ate
his ass quick.
The
he ate
FBI is
peaches
gonna
and
knock on
cream
my.
and
It's
something.
gonna
and-
knock on my door right now because
Yeah.
I'm typing in which presidents were assassinated.
Right, I know. I was going to say.
So
Presidents that were assassinated: Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, and Kennedy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was McKinley.
Yeah.
J Dollar was right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Garfield, not the other
Buchanan.
name I said. And then you had 2 or 3 presidents that just died, right into their. 2 of them.
One of them
Died
had
right into the
cherries. One
presidency.
of them ate cherries and cream, and then just
Presidents
then,
that were shot but survived were Theodore
Reagan.
Roosevelt, Reagan, and Trump.
Roosevelt got shot in a
Presidents-
war, though, didn't he?
Presidents unharmed but others killed: F.D. Roosevelt, Truman, Ford, and that's it.
Yeah,
Ford
Ford. There
Wilson.
was assassination attempt on Ford, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and Truman.
Yeah. And you remember
So
Roosevelt?
Truman was right before, not to cut you off, but Truman was right before Kennedy. That was 1950.
hmm
Okay.
And then Roosevelt, they killed right after his 3rd term, or he died right into his 3rd term. He's
Was
the only president.
Roosevelt the one who's responsible for the 22nd Amendment?
I don't know. You got to look that up when it was
Which
done.
one? No, it was after that. FDR. Which one was in for 16 years?
That was Roosevelt, right?
FDR.
Or
right?
Hoover. I think it was Roosevelt.
Different Roosevelt. Okay.
Yeah, the other Roosevelt. Anyway, just hours after Jack Ruby killed Oswald, the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, demanded a quick public report to stop conspiracy theories from spreading. Hoover wrote that there is nothing further on the Oswald case except that he is dead, and that he wanted to ensure the public believed Oswald acted alone. This is another interesting memo that came out about Lee Harvey Oswald. The State Department was doing studies on.
They had a baby?
They were doing studies on people who had left the military and quote unquote defected.
No, they had a baby.
And of the 26 defectors, only 4 of them ever brought their wives home with them from Russia. And Oswald was one of the ones who somehow got to take the woman with him when he left Russia. So that's also interesting. Or Soviet Union.
Right.
What's the kid who shot President Trump? What's his name? Dylan? Do you think Dylan is like Lee Harvey?
I don't think his name was Dylan.
What's his name? The guy in Butler. Pennsylvania. The guy
That
who
stuff
shot.
goes down. Yep.
What's his name?
From the left into I remember the from the left into the side. Or what was it? It was a JFK movie with Kevin Costner, I think, is what I'm remembering. No, after Harvey was murdered, the FBI launched surveillance on his wife, Marina Oswald, and other family members to monitor their communications and movements. The memo reveals that the FBI intercepted calls Marina had made to the Soviet embassy, worried she might share classified information. What the hell? You see it jump like that? Why did it just jump like that? Did they delete that one? What just happened?
Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Thomas Matthew Crooks. Yeah. So
That was weird.
are they kind of the same kind of fucked up Lee Harvey and okay, so Dark
I
Gift
would say
doesn't
yeah.
think doesn't think that Lee Harvey actually took the shot. You think he took a shot but didn't miss.
No, I don't.
I
There's no
think
proof.
he is the lone assassin. He took one shot and that was it for Kennedy.
You think
but-
one bullet did all that damage to two people?
I haven't.
It's impossible.
Right. But psychologically, do you think Lee Harvey and Thomas Crooks, that there's something about them that makes them
That's the
vulnerable?
strange thing. That's the strange thing about Crooks, right? It's like we know more about Lee Harvey Oswald, or at least we think we do. You know what they've told us, than we do about this guy Crooks. And he grew up in the age of the internet, and there's not like a footprint on this guy.
Clean. This kid is
And
squeaky clean.
nobody's talking about this guy at all. So it's weird. But if we're going off physical looks, yeah, you can kind of see like there's something in their eyes that look.
Do you
off.
think Crooks acted alone, or do
No.
you think he was
No.
nudged
Impossible.
somewhere along the way?
Impossible.
The one thing we do know is that he was in talks, like from his cell phone data, with somebody in Washington D.C. right outside the Pentagon on numerous occasions.
Yeah, and also right outside the FBI building.
Or maybe that's what it was. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the
Well, I think
FBI.
it was both. He was at two different locations.
Yeah.
And he
And
also
the person that he was talking to, like he'd be home on the phone, and the person he was talking to was in D.C.
Mhm.
and he would visit D.C. and that person, whoever he was talking to, would visit Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So
And you remember the phones that, because all this data you can buy the data for how they move. It's totally legal. So not only did his travels make a giant cross, you remember that?
Mhm.
So, and they actually had the geolocations of everywhere him and those two phones were, and they made a cross from Pennsylvania going, what was it, down to like Virginia and wherever it was, North Carolina, where did he end up getting shot?
he got shot in
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but Crooks was from. Let me see if I can.
What's interesting about the Pennsylvania thing is the building, the glass building that he was on, the owner of that company, there's some shenanigans going on with the owner of that glass company, and you got to be like super autistic. You're like, how does that work out? And then he also had the communication apps that he had on his phone were foreign apps, and they're the encrypted like European versions of like WhatsApp or whatever.
Right.
He had that on there, and
he was from right outside
with,
Pittsburgh.
yeah, and he was speaking with foreigners on that encrypted foreign app. So, and then remember, they cleaned his house.
Like bleach, they were saying. Like it
They
smelled
bleach
like
bit his house. And that's very hard to do. So that was an absolute cleanup job, a total mistake. He was never supposed to miss. So
Yeah, if Trump didn't do what he always does and go off prompter and like start like talking about like, hey, pull up. He remember he was in the middle of something, and then he said, you know what, pull that chart up. I love that chart.
yeah,
And like just totally went off cuff. And if he didn't turn his head to go look at the screen, done.
yeah.
Done.
And if you also listen to the videos that came out on the day, you had the one lady who was talking about the man on the water tower. And then you also had the video before the shooting of the man recording the man on the water tower.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the shooting, you had the recording when they're talking to people, like the people are just going around talking to such and such, like, oh, what did you see? What did you see? On the police recorder of the police officer that was there, you actually hear them saying that we have activity at the water tower. We have activity at the water tower.
Right.
And so, and those are three things
what?
that I
You know what?
experienced. I
You know what?
experienced them.
You know what came up? Maybe it was like a month ago. Like they were talking about it on a couple of different channels. Like I know Tim Pool talked about it. I think somebody else talked about it. CNN, who never really covers a Trump rally, unless
Covered
like,
that Trump.
they streamed the whole thing. It wasn't like they had somebody like an affiliate waiting, but they were like, well, we streamed it because we had heard that he might be announcing his VP pick. And I said, well, why wouldn't you just have an affiliate there and then have him go live when he does? You know what I mean? Like, why stream the whole thing? And it was almost like they got tipped off that like something was going to happen. Not that they knew what was going to happen, but that something, like they got tipped off like, hey, you're going to want to stream this.
Yeah, just like I was saying here, they were getting tipped off that Kennedy was about to get killed. So it's in these documents.
Well, if CNN got tipped off that there was going to be an assassination attempt on Trump and didn't say nothing, that people should go down. I don't know if it was that deep.
That would be hard to prove. Yeah, that would be hard.
I would think that maybe somebody who didn't know tipped them off like something big was going to happen, like a big announcement or something. So they decided to stream when they normally wouldn't. But they definitely had to have gotten a tip. Why would they do it? That one rally, of every rally he's done since 2016, that's the one rally they stream all the way through.
And in Pennsylvania, which basically that's where America started. Basically, it was in Pennsylvania. It's where our first government was.
First capital, yeah.
Put into motion, you know, for real. So, all right, we're viewed all well. So anyway, they're tracking the family. This document, I think I've seen before, so this one isn't new. But
is that the one with the really weird story of some other dude?
This one was just him talking to, like, they were monitoring him leaving. So it's so funny, and this is how I know he was a patsy, because they were following him around. They were making him paranoid. Now, granted, he was probably doing espionage with whoever he really worked with, because it doesn't tell you who he really worked with, even though they know something. They know something. And
are you gonna
and then they don't do anything about it. Do what?
Are you gonna read all 80,000 pages?
No, there's not that many on this one.
No, I know. No, I don't mean now, like on the stream. I mean in general.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah.
I know you.
I read them all. Yeah, all of them. So here's another thing that talks about the Jack Ruby ties, and this is similar to the other stories that have come out in the past, which I found interesting. Jack Ruby was tied to the mafia of Chicago, just all those highways that connect to you, Anthony, going to the ports of New York and Jersey. Yeah, those roads.
Well, that was the thing. It was, and there was the families in Chicago, which Joe Kennedy had connections to, which was like Robert Kennedy's big thing was going after them, and it was like the mob was like, "Yo, Joe, what's up with your son? Why are they coming after? Why is he?" Trying to get the government to come after us type of thing. So, yeah. Because everybody forgets Joe Kennedy, even though he was, he had connections to the mob.
Well, they are, the Kennedy family is the mob. They are mob.
Right, but no, like the Italian mafia, I mean.
Yeah. The Kennedys, remember, because on my YouTube channel that's now deleted, I did that long stream on the Kennedys going back hundreds of years. The Kennedy family has been used 4 or 5 times to cause great distress in the world. And it's just something that the Kennedy family does. I don't know why. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Queen Elizabeth, when royalty dies, like you ring a bell, or like the king or queen rings a bell out of respect or whatever. And Kennedy got apparently one of those ringings. So it's just like,
I mean, that's why like Frank Sinatra was like close with the Kennedy family, because Frank Sinatra was close with the mafia.
Yeah. Yeah, it was prostitution, alcohol, and uh, mafia unionization. Like they turned the union into their octopus arms, and they just went into every department of, transportation, into the banks, into the businesses, anything Loop Capital, around Loop Capital, the Reynolds family,
Right.
all that mafia,
Well,
mafia,
Kennedy-
mafia, mafia, mafia.
Joe Kennedy made most of his fortune bootlegging.
And prostitution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's where a lot of his connections came from. He had some allies in the mafia, but he also made a lot of enemies in the mafia too.
Kennedy should have never. This is
Like that family that almost was. They could have been. I mean, I know they were for decades, but taking over the world. But they just
Well, no. This family is not.
coming up
They're
short.
like the
They keep
jester.
killing them.
The Kennedy is like the jester or the great destabilizers. That's what Kennedys are. And you have certain families like that all throughout history.
Like Daffy Duck.
Like the von der Leyen, the lady who runs the European Union. Her families are like Kennedys. They're hundreds of years old. They were around during the Silk Road merchants of Europe because
Long time.
von der Leyen, their family, were the silk merchants for like Rome and the Vatican and everything. And it was Napoleon who actually knighted von der Leyen, gave that family knighthood. And remember, it's Napoleon's brother's son who created the FBI. So
J. Edgar Hoover,
no,
brother's son. Huh?
Hoover didn't create the FBI. The FBI. It's just like the CIA was the OSS.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI had another institution before that was created by Napoleon's family. Which
Oh,
turned
okay,
into the
okay,
FBI.
all right.
Remember we went over that.
They just rebranded it.
Well, it's not always just a rebrand. Sometimes it's like a precursor. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
that's precisely what it was. As a precursor to what became the FBI. It was the formalization of federalizing the police.
the police.
I would say
Yeah.
it was the very first time it's ever happened. And you remember Hoover was totally homosexual, and he ran his mob the way he liked running it. You know what I'm saying? And the Kennedys ran their mob the whole different way. The Army, the OSS, the Operation or the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS became the CIA which is a precursor to Five Eyes, by the way. The military of Britain was losing their grasp on expanding America, and they needed to figure out a way to make a center pillar for espionage, and that's how the Office of Strategic Services turned into the Central Intelligence Agency, and that's how we got what we got now. And that was all created by MI5, MI6, SIS, and SOE. And today we have the CIA. It's the bankers and the royalties, secret police. You know what I mean? DARPA has their own. DynCorp has their own. I'm pretty sure Palantir and Elon Musk, I'm pretty sure they got their own now. The Treasury uses the Northern Virginia Army, the 101 Mountain regime. That's the Treasury has their own military. So FBI records show the agents were worried that Jack Ruby's connection to the mob would make people think JFK was a part of a bigger plot. Ruby, who shot Lee Harvey Oswald on live TV, had ties to criminals in Chicago and Dallas. The FBI feared this would make it seem like Oswald was silenced before he could talk. A memo shows that Edgar Hoover was frustrated that many people didn't believe Ruby acted alone. Even with the concerns, officials stuck to the story and Ruby acted alone, just like Oswald.
Mm.
FBI records. Go ahead.
Acted alone. Right.
Yeah. That must be like some secret code. Acted alone. What does that mean? FBI records show that the agents closely watched Lee Harvey Oswald's interactions with Soviet defectors in Texas, including a man named Peter Gregory, who helped translate Oswald and his Russian wife Marina. Another key figure was George Dia Moltenstadt, a Russian-born oil geologist, who befriended Oswald and later died under mysterious circumstances. FBI believed that Die Mortenstadt may have influenced Oswald, and agents monitored his activities after the assassination.
Influenced him how? Like in the way that the Russians wanted Oswald to act, or
yeah. Well, they got
counter to what the Russians wanted. That's why he was mysteriously dead.
So, like in another timeline, if you think about it, because usually the silliest and the easiest way to assume something happened is usually the way it happened. So the way I assumed it happened, they had more than one shooter. They all took an opportunity at him, and they had because there's always someone who's going to get caught. The government always needs to provide a patsy, and so it looked like the government was so on his shit that they were guiding the patsyism. You know what I'm saying? Because there's even pictures of Oswald on the street behind the car before Kennedy was shot. There's actually photos of that. And people have taken the time from when that picture was taken to where it was and geolocated where he was shot. And it would have been impossible unless Oswald had like flash feet and he could like run through the crowd, go to another street, go all the way up to the suppository to get into that window.
Suppository.
Yeah. The suppository. But again, that's another thing. And you also remember George Bush Sr. was also on the sidewalk when JFK was assassinated as well.
Was he?
And then he ends up becoming the director of the CIA, and then they name a building after him.
Okay, all right. That's
your cat is like hitting the cord.
I know. The first Bush's dad. Okay. Right.
And the Bushes are tied to the oil and the railroad, Pacific railroads. They're tied to because remember in Dallas, Texas, Dallas is like
the railroads that the pipeline is competing with. Because if you could pipe the oil all that distance, why would you need to put it on a train?
Well, this was before all that. This was when the trains still did the majority of the work. So here is a picture I saw a long time ago where, and this is what's interesting. There's a lot of new things in here that I hadn't recognized before. And then there are new, it seems like people already had like the pictures and the times ready for these documents. Like they kind of knew how it would flow out. Because Donald Trump said about 2-3 days ago, he's like, I want the documents released with no redactions. And so what they did is they took the 1995, the 98, 2016, and 2022 files, and they released them
unredacted.
So these are all the same files that we've already had. But there are some new memos in there. There are some new memos.
Hidden in the 80,000 pages.
Yeah.
Waiting for people to discover.
They probably hid like 7 in there out of 80,000 for you to find.
How many AIs and how many people do you think have already read this? How many pages? 60,000 pages? And have already digested it and understands
Well,
it.
there's only 22 or 2300 PDFs. So it's really not a lot, but there's a lot of pages in the PDFs, of course.
Right.
And again, so much of the stuff it's already out there. And we're getting it in it because, like, one example, a lot of the declassified things, like some of the things that were declassified in 1995 or 1998, the CIA had no problems with the declassified things, and then you would have someone writing in handwriting, except for in these brackets, and in the brackets it was censoring Israel, Zionist Israel. So
Jews.
so that's what they were censoring.
Censor the Jews.
Yeah. Declassified documents revealed the CIA had surveillance on Soviet and Cuban embassies and Mexico City, where Lee Harvey Oswald visited, but they couldn't confirm if the man that they tracked was really him. The memo shows that the CIA obtained photos of a man visiting the Soviet embassy claiming to be Oswald, but the images didn't match his appearance. Intelligence officials were confused, questioning whether someone else was using Oswald's name or if there was a mix-up in the surveillance. The report also stated that the phone calls that Oswald made to the embassies were intercepted, where he spoke in broken Russian. And if I remember correctly, motherfucker didn't speak any Russian.
Oswald, I thought he spoke some Russian. His wife was Russian. They had 2 kids.
Yeah, I thought he spoke none, and he had a Russian wife.
He spent time there, didn't he?
That's just what I thought. So this one's about the Warren Commission. Declassified memo details in 64 meeting between CIA and Lee Rigrin and the Warren Commission staffer David Slauson. The discussion focused on whether Oswald's unusual department from the USSR with his Soviet wife, Marina. Wiggins says most comparative cases involve foreign students or transient persons, not defectors like Oswald. Only 4. Okay, this is the one I was talking about earlier. Only 4 out of 6 cases had Soviet wives leave with their foreign husbands.
Oh, okay.
So
he was one of them. Him and his wife were one of them.
It's like they had to give the woman to him to like kind of ease his nerves because they're rattling something, because they were. I'm not trying to. It's like a shitty Jason Bourne film.
So Oswald was just one more person on the route of the parade in Dallas. What was it? The Daily Plaza.
Right.
He's just one more shooter that they all had lined up. Or there just happened to be that many shooters at the same place at the same time.
I think when they do these type of things, they always have more than one shooter, but they usually have one patsy,
like on the water
that gets caught.
Yeah.
Because the guy who shot through the windshield, who is that guy?
He got away. He's the one that shot him in the neck, right?
Yeah, and shot the driver. It hit the driver.
Oh,
and it also hit
bounced off his clavicle and hit Kennedy in the neck. Okay.
And if it was a real gargantuan bullet that can actually travel through bodies and go into other bodies, that motherfucker would have been, and then the bullet would have gone like flippy floppy in different directions.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been like a scalpel.
Right, because it expands as soon as it penetrates your human flesh. It expands.
Yeah.
And takes most of it with it on the way out.
And
whereas one that stays intact will just pierce right through it
Mhm.
and then go through the president's neck.
And those were small caliber weapons. Small caliber.
Right. But how powerful?
And it was a different caliber, and it was clearly a different caliber than the rifle that Oswald had. Clearly.
Which was what kind of? It was like
was it like a 301,
something crappy,
270, 380, something like that.
Yeah. But is it plausible to make that shot to kill the president in the back of the head? Back of the head.
Huh? I'm telling you, like,
with that rifle, with some Russian training and a Russian wife.
just doesn't make sense. And here's a rifle that I was talking about.
Oh, right. Seems pretty simple.
Newly classified cable shows CIA urgently requested a full investigation into Oswald's contacts, fiancé, and movements through Europe before JFK's assassination. The agency asked Berlin and other stations to search local records, media, and services for any links between Oswald and covert operations. So they were asking Berlin if he was doing anything before he killed Kennedy.
West Berlin or East Berlin?
That's suspicious. Special requests included locating his fiancée and verifying press mentions. This was sent to a high priority matter to the assistant to assist the Warren Commission.
I'll be right back. Something's going on with my computer.
I'll miss you when you're gone.
Okay. CIA and FBI officials privately questioned whether Lee Harvey Oswald was the true mastermind behind JFK's assassination, or if he was being manipulated by others. A memo described Oswald as a man easily influenced, raising concerns that he could have been used by foreign operatives or a larger network. Another report points out that at his sudden return from the Soviet Union and the ties to pro-Castro groups seemed suspicious. Despite these doubts, officials moved quickly to declare Oswald a lone gunman, shutting down further investigations.
Like the Roswell incident. Yeah, just shut it down. Shut it all down. That's when they could do that, when there was no media about.
Yeah, you had like
these
3
fucking
channels.
things pointed everywhere.
Mm-hmm. An FBI informant reported that Jack Ruby said that he had to kill Lee Harvey Oswald, and he hinted at a bigger reason behind his actions. The document states that the informant, who had known Ruby for years, said Ruby was worried about his family's safety and suggested that he was under pressure to act. The memo also notes that Ruby's connections to illegal gambling and organized crime made his true motives unclear. Despite this, officials pushed that Ruby acted alone, and they did not investigate deeper into these ties.
How much time did he serve? Did he get executed? Jack Ruby?
I forget off the top of my head.
All right.
Do you remember hearing the stories of the one guy that supposedly was in the gutters or in the curb in that gut? What do you call it?
A culvert, a pipe. What are you talking
Yeah, he's in a culvert pipe under the ground, shooting from like the roads here, and there's a hole.
Shooting up at Kennedy?
Yeah. Did you hear about that?
No.
So supposedly one guy.
Who's planning all this? Who is coordinating all this? If there were multiple shooters, who coordinated it? And was it coordinated it? Or did they just all these assassins all of a sudden decide to show up at this? It was an opportune time because it was in a convertible and there he was exposed.
Yeah.
So, and there was tall buildings and cover and all this other stuff that people could take a shot at him. So did all these assassins converge on the same point at the same time, but for different reasons? Or did somebody coordinate all these people to be there at the same time?
Yeah, they all coordinated them. That's what I think. And what's funny is that guy who supposedly was in the gutters and was supposedly seen coming out of the gutters somewhere with dirty clothing, he ended up being one of the other guys who was murdered in Dallas, Texas that day.
Oh.
So Kennedy wasn't the only person that was murdered that day.
Did his shot hit the mark? Did the guy in the gutter hit Kennedy? Or
I don't know. I think the guy, that video in the Zapruder film, if I'm going like this, is that fake?
No, but it could be misinterpreted. It's what, 8mm film?
Yeah, it's like one of
It
those
was
little.
it was actual film with light shining through it in the 1963. Yeah, with a spring loader, you had to crank it up to or something.
So the CIA memo. Let me close this real quick. Okay. CIA memo says that sources told investigators that Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald had met at a nightclub weeks before JFK was killed.
I find that plausible. Yep.
The report says that CIA knew about this claim but couldn't prove it. It also notes that Ruby had ties to anti-Castro guerrilla groups and people involved in intelligence work.
How did Ruby get through all that? Because Oswald was being frog marched, and Ruby was able to get this close.
They let him right into his chest.
How did he do that?
The same way they allowed Kennedy
Oswald
to
was
be
handcuffed, wasn't he?
in the
Ruby just
front.
walked right, pow!
Yeah. They let him come in on purpose.
His family is safe.
Yeah, and his family's safe. One of the documentaries I watched a long time ago was on about all of the tying of Jack Ruby and his problem with, gambling in these areas. Because you remember J. Edgar Hoover.
His family wouldn't be in danger if he wasn't a dickhead of some sort.
Well, remember J. Edgar Hoover used to go to the dog races in Miami with all the mafia guys. Right next to Trump Tower. You remember when they had that pipe bomb that they drove up that they supposedly sent through the mail, and you had that Hawaiian guy, but he wasn't Hawaiian. He was like Vietnamese or whatever, and he got caught in the van that was next to the Jewish Center.
No.
Remember all that?
What year was this?
A few years ago, like the first term.
Oh.
The guy was sending bombs through the mail, and he drove up the West Coast, and he was going to blow up his van.
No. Like Riley did? No, I don't remember that guy.
Well, anyway, that guy, he's tied to the buildings that J. Edgar Hoover used to go to and watch the dog races with the mafia in Miami. And Trump's tower is like literally 2 or 3 doors down from where these dog races. Well, maybe not 2. That's an exaggeration. It's right near where the dog races are
in New York.
These are buildings 2 or 3 doors down. That's
right.
15 feet. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just find it, and this is what I was going to say earlier about the Bush family, because of course the Bush family are tied to the railroad mafia, central bankers, the guys who killed Tesla and stole his patents and all that stuff, and then Bush Sr. is there when Kennedy dies, but then he gets a building, the Bush Sr. CIA headquarters building or whatever it's called. And then he actually becomes a CIA. They're part of the Pacific Railroad folks, the Pine Tree Mafia. And
does everything have a mafia? Pine trees have a mafia. Concrete has a mafia. Steel has a mafia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Do you have a mafia? Do you have a mafia?
I mean, it's just family.
I don't.
But anyway, so they're all tied to the landowners of Texas, and one of their headquarters is based out of Dallas, Texas as well. And the Bush family is a part of these, 17 families that run Texas.
Okay.
And the Bush family is a part of those families.
Good for them. Sounds
And
like
what's
they
amazing,
did well. Yeah. Sounds like they
what's
did
amazing-
okay.
Well, they're tied to all the alcohol and everything. Because remember, these are casinos, concrete rebar guys, like you were saying. They're also tied to the mafia groups in Montreal and all that. And they're also tied to the Seagram 7 people, the Bronfmans. You know who the Bronfmans are, right?
No, I can
Next
Google
to
it.
him, The Nexium people.
I don't know what Nexium is.
The slave, the people, they're like Scientology. They brand the women, the Nexium people.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about? And so the Nexium people, Keith Raniere, got the Bronfman heir, who is a part of the people who own Seagram 7, the Canadian mafia dudes. They put a keylogger on his computer to get all his banking information. This is when the Nexium stuff was all going down. Your cat is driving me insane. It keeps jumping up, going down, jumping up, going down.
She still hasn't. God damn it! She still hasn't pushed a button that has kicked me off yet.
And so you remember the Bronfman people? You know David Spade?
Yes.
You know his sister. Remember she got killed? They put a shoestring around her neck and tied her to a doorknob.
Holy shit!
Yeah, that's a Nexium Bronfman people. That's these people. Remember, because David Spade's sister, she had this company that like made purses and stuff like that, and supposedly this is speculation. A lot of the leather that they used for some of their special bags were skin of children.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting.
And these are the same people who are like married into the Gettys.
Is that true? The newspaper.
They're married into the Guinness family.
The Guinness Book of World Record, the beer guys.
And remember, the heir to Guinness, that pretty boy, he was supposed to marry Chelsea Handler.
Ew.
Chelsea Handler, the child handler.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ew. She's the one who took pictures of all the children. She ran that agency that coincides with all the talent agencies of Hollywood. I'm connecting the dots for you.
So what I miss?
Just nonsense. And then Ruby Jack is tied to the families who own Texas. And they're also tied to the families.
So there's a direct line from Jack Ruby to the Bushes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, it's the railroad.
That's what you missed.
Mafia, but the Bushes. Anytime like big money in Dallas comes up, like that's
the motherfucking Bushes.
Well, it's the families that run Texas.
7 of them.
13 to 17 families. Like where Anthony lives in New Jersey, like that one guy runs all of Jersey. He has all of the type A shares, the Payseur family, the French family.
Yeah, well,
when they killed the French monarchy, French royalty left and they came here and they essentially took over New Haven, Connecticut, Northern Virginia. They helped, a lot of dirty stuff that they did.
The family that I would say probably really runs the show in Jersey, at least within the last 25, 30 years, is the Hovnanian family.
The who?
Hovnanian.
Spell that.
Hovnanian. They're the biggest construction company in the state. They build everything.
Yeah. Concrete and rebar mafia, bro.
Everything. Like all the fancy home, like, those like developments, those like when they build like new developments and all the houses look the same and you get the models, they build all that shit. $1 million homes.
Literally controlling the means of production.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Jersey is like old school. You still have like, I don't know how to call it. You still have like a duke I don't know. It's not what I'm trying to say, but you still have like one man will control a whole state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that
don't get
shit
me wrong.
exists.
Like The Sopranos wasn't too far off. Like, I mean, it was very over the top, but like Northern Jersey has like the remnants of like what was like the stronghold of Italian mafia, you know.
Yeah.
If you go up to North Jersey, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hovnanian is like. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's a fake name and it's really a bunch of Italians running the show.
Yeah, it's a new name that they picked. Yeah.
You know, like
So this is an interesting document. I had never seen this one before. This one apparently
There's a pyramid.
I can't really see when it was declassified. But this report states that Lee Harvey was hinting at something big happening weeks before JFK was killed. The document also revealed that Oswald attempted to contact a Soviet official named Pavel Yatskovsky. Okay, Yatskov.
Good job.
Pavel Yatskov, believed to be working in intelligence. Since it's unclear if he ever reached him, but U.S. officials saw this as highly suspicious. The source also described Oswald as nervous and agitated in the days leading up to the assassination, adding that he seemed desperate to send a message before November 22nd. Despite these red flags, officials took no further action before the assassination.
Thomas Crooks. They didn't take any action before the attempted assassination.
Yeah. He's probably wondering why he has to be in Dallas. And then he finds out. Okay.
So who coordinated all this?
My opinion.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
that's me.
Oh, never
sharing
mind.
My screen.
I think London, Brussels, and Rome killed.
It's a good guess.
Yeah, share my screen real quick. Jay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna take this down.
This is new to him,
This up.
this particular platform.
So this is
look
the
at
Hovnanian Construction Company website, and this is where they have their market, and you can
Oh,
see
wow.
they started in Jersey, so like they literally got like this part of the Northeast on lock, and then they moved down here, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, and now they're starting to expand westward.
Mm,
Good for them.
money.
Yeah, like
That's good work if you can find it.
here we go. Like we'll go Jersey Shore. Like these are the homes they built. Like these types of like.
They just build everything.
Are they
like
crap?
condos.
Will they be around another 100 years from now, or
They've been around
Have
since
they-
the 90s, if not longer.
have
But
they been
like
constructed in a way that they're just going to crumble to dust in 50,
the
70
houses? Oh,
years?
you
Yeah.
mean the actual structures? Oh
Yeah.
no, they build. They like these guys know what they're doing. Yeah, like there's a reason why like a house like this costs like 1.2
Well, yeah, they're-
million.
Okay,
You
Yeah.
know?
because they're the mafia.
Yeah, man. Big money. Big money.
Yeah. How do I stop sharing? That's the question.
Shoot your computer. That's
I
one
like how
way.
it does the flipping of the screens and you can change the text.
I like this. I like the way this looks.
Yeah. I do too. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this file here was about somehow a man knowing in London, of course, what's going to happen in the U.S. or in the USA about JFK.
16.
Somehow Sergei knew that American Lee Harvey Oswald, who was attempting to defect to Russia, had plans to assassinate JFK. And Sergei also claims he provided the information to then American Vice Consul Tom Blackshear.
How far in advance was it known that Kennedy was going to be on that particular route?
Well, I think they knew. All of this right here was them plotting his murder.
Oh yeah, Hovnanian's working with Blackstone now, so there you
Oh,
go.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They moved to default on debts in a manufactured default deal with the Blackstone Group, which would benefit through credit default swaps.
Hmm. So apparently this is a new file. Declassified requests reveal U.S. agents flag Roman Fedorovich. Man, these guys,
Good job.
easier last names, guys.
You're doing pretty good saying them.
A secret CIA form from RID, the Records Integration Division, identifies Dedro as also known under the alias as Vasily Nikolineva as a potential Soviet operative. The request ordered index checks on his Communist Party affiliation, birth date, and prior intelligence records. The purpose was to consolidate all the documents for investigation into the possible foreign ties of Lee Harvey Oswald. So this is so funny. Like, did they mean to bring this fake Lee Harvey Oswald in there?
Who are those people? What is that photograph I'm looking
This
at?
is
Explain it to me.
This is when they're outside of that embassy in Mexico City, and where all the communists used to go and hand out pamphlets to
Like Mooney's at the
yeah, because
airport.
back in the day you were allowed to do this.
So the guy on the left is supposed to be Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah, but it was found out that it wasn't him, but he was using Lee Harvey's name.
Oh.
And this is the guy that was speaking broken Russian over the phone. Another interesting thing, huh?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So they were following Lee Harvey, and he did go through Mexico City, and he did talk to an agent. There was a KGB agent that worked in Mexico City that stamped his passport that allowed him to come to America. But you also had another man there who was claiming to be Lee Harvey Oswald, who spoke broken Russian, and who was dressed just like Lee Harvey Oswald dressed.
Okay. That's sneaky.
So what were they doing? You know,
Sneaky.
elbow just fell off.
They were. What do you mean? What were they doing? They were setting up all these assassins to get together on the Daily Plaza and assassinate President Kennedy.
Yep.
Oh,
So
what? How many assassins do we have now? 5.
I don't know if this guy ever went. There's no, I wonder who this guy is.
4, 6.
Guaranteed at least 3. Because you got Oswald, the Secret Service driver, and the guy who shot through the windshield.
And then the guy underground.
That's speculative. But there was a man.
All right. So
There was a man who climbed out of the tubes
that's
that
speculative.
was filthy
That's
and who got murdered the same day that JFK did, just down the street. And the police tried to cover that up.
okay. So 3.
Well, that's just speculative.
So one entity planned for 3, maybe 4 would-be assassins to show up that day with the express purpose of killing President Kennedy.
To make sure he got shot. And then they changed his brain out in his body.
What? No.
And it freaked what's her face out.
Jacqueline. That's
Jacqueline.
why she married the Greek.
Well, isn't she a princess anyways?
She married a Greek prince.
Yeah.
Was he a
Onassis.
prince?
Onassis. I think he was royalty. He might have been.
Yeah, he was royalty. So your husband
Super
got killed and
uber
you got
rich
hooked
and
up with one
super
of the.
uber ugly. This guy was just. Oh,
Well,
just
keep
a
your mouth shut.
She got out the country. That's what happened.
Personification
She didn't care what he
of-
looked like. She was like, "You rich, and I can go live in Greece and get the
I
fuck
need
out
to
of the
go.
states."
and he's fat and he's ugly and I have to have sex with you because I'm gonna
Yeah.
marry you.
She was like, "I'm next."
I remember. Could you imagine being with the Secret Service back then?
Uh,
'Cause you had to have fear. Like the Secret Service had to put fear in the heart of this woman. And could you imagine the children? So you can't do anything because they're watching your children too.
so
But you
can
mind
Trump-
your P's and Q's.
Can Trump revoke Hunter Biden's Secret Service protection? Can he
already
do that?
He
Yeah.
can diminish. I don't know if he'll revoke it, but he'll diminish it.
He said he's revoked all 23.
He's mad
18,
because
all
he
18.
didn't have much Secret Service protection at Butler, Pennsylvania. But Hunter Biden, that motherfucker, has how many in where is he?
He's
All right,
Remember
so
at Butler,
you get one woman, you get one black lesbian Secret Service agent when you go overseas. That's all you get for the rest of your life.
you remember in Butler when they shot Trump, almost none of those agents protecting Trump were Secret Service agents.
Who were they?
They were Homeland Security.
Homeland Security.
Oh wow.
So what are the odds of that?
Okay,
Yeah,
so when
so,
when
when
Trump
you
goes
saw that
into an arena and there's those Secret Service agents that flank him and swat the people's hands away as everybody's like reaching out, oh Trump, hey Trump.
Yeah.
Are
Couldn't tell
those
you-
Secret Service or are they?
Well, now that he's
Something else.
president, he probably has a steady,
Oh, he's ramped his own.
a steady unit of like it's the same guys. Whereas like beforehand, it was like, oh, you're gonna be in Butler, PA. Okay, we're gonna, you got like
You get
remember
the
when he was
team
like,
out there.
when he was going like fight, right? That picture where there's like 6 of them surrounding him. Like
Yes.
2 of those guys were like with him, like are like with
Yeah.
him all the time, and then the other 4 or 5 that were surrounding him were
None
all
of
like Homeland Security.
Yeah. The
They were-
female
Okay,
with
all right.
Secret Service.
But that
and the-
one guy that was around him, was he the one that when he like 2 or 3 times when he went to a UFC fight, there was that one guy behind him swatting the hands away when was walking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
crowd
probably
on
like
this
his.
side.
That's probably like his one, like the one, like one of the
Well, he-
crew
like
that's
that guy.
always with him.
He got promoted. He actually runs the Secret Service now.
Yeah.
He got promoted.
He's the guy that runs the Secret Service. Yeah,
So
he's
And
the
the
guy
guy
that
that-
gave the little kid the badge. At
Yeah.
the, at
That
the
was pretty
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
yeah.
and I'm sure that man never thought in his life. He's like, bro, I almost let Trump die, and now I'm running.
I don't
this
think-
bitch."
I don't think Melania ever thought when she said "I do" to Donald Trump that she would be First Lady of the United States of America.
I think she
I don't
did.
think she ever thought that. I just
I
want to.
think she did.
I want to marry a billionaire and have 1 or 2 or 3 of his sons.
I think Trump's been planning to run
All
for
the sex
president
I want to have with him.
ever since they killed John F. Kennedy Jr. When they killed John Jr., that's
I
when.
mean,
Junior
it-
died
it's-
of natural causes. No,
It's
no, they
it-
killed him in a plane. They flew his
in a
plane.
like John Denver did. Okay, yeah.
Straight into the water. And you
Well,
can't do
it-
that with planes.
It's come up a couple of times. Like you've heard, like in interviews since like the late '80s, early '90s. Like you should run for president, and
Yeah.
he was like, nah.
Yeah, I gotta pee like a racehorse. I'll be right back.
I'll miss you while you're gone.
But
So,
Yeah.
how many actual people shot at Kennedy? 3, 4, and one of them hit him, and one of them, 2 or 3 of them hit other people, and somebody planned all this, or it was just Lee Harvey Oswald acting on
It
his
wa-
own because he's a
it
nutcase, and the
wasn't
Russians
just
fucked
Lee
with his
Harvey.
head.
it wasn't.
And he managed to take that shot from the book suppository right in Kennedy's
It's
back of his head. Pow!
impossible. The only way that works, this is the only way that works, is if he shoots that rifle, the bullet comes down, hits the frame of the windshield, ricochets back, and hits Kennedy in the head.
Bro.
That's the only way that works.
You looked at some evidence, didn't you?
Dude, I remember seeing that
but-
the first, like, I remember when, like, we, like, got to, like, when we were old enough in school to watch that video, like, in
The
junior
Zapruder
high.
film. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember watching it going,
Yeah, I
wait,
watched it on TV. I didn't watch it on TV. It happened before I was born. I'm not that old.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, you know, the first time we were able to watch that video in school, I remember even thinking, I was like, wait, he's from behind? Like, I was like 11 years old, and I'm like, there's no way his head goes back if the bullet's coming from behind. I've watched enough TV and seen enough, like, shit, and this is before the internet,
Yeah.
to know better. Even at 11, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, you know? So I've never thought that it was Lee Harvey Oswald. Even before I knew about conspiracy theories and shit, you know? I said to Seven, I said the only way it works for Oswald to be the guy is if he shoots the rifle, the bullet hits the top part of the windshield, like the frame of the windshield, and ricochets back. That's the only way it works.
And that they threw away the windshield that has 2 bullet holes in it and replaced it with a windshield that doesn't have any bullet holes in it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's plausible.
And ask yourself this: why does, other than like trying to like scoop up JFK's brains off the trunk of the car, why is Jackie's first instinct to go that way?
Her husband, I don't know.
She wasn't going for the
Have
brain.
you ever sat beside somebody who just had their brains blown out?
I don't think she.
Which way in a convertible? Which way would you run?
Away from where the gunshot came.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't
You're
run
saying
towards
she
the
ran
gunshot.
towards the gunshot.
No, I'm saying she ran away from the gunshot.
Yeah.
You're saying she ran towards the gunshot.
No, I'm trying to figure out why.
No, you know.
She reacted like Jackie. She didn't know anything.
If the bullet,
that was,
if the gunshot came from behind,
if you're married to the president of the United States and all of a sudden his brain is splattered all over your dress, where would you run?
First, okay, if the gunshot supposedly comes from behind and my husband's brain gets blown all over my dress,
She didn't know where the bullet came from. All she knew was that her husband's brains were on her dress.
She knew where that bullet came from.
Yeah.
That's why
Did she?
Yeah, that's why she jumps out of the car.
Yeah.
She knew that the fucking driver shot him, or the passenger shot him.
Her first reaction was her first reaction was get out of the car, and then she sees the guy's brains all over the trunk, and she's trying to collect them as she's trying to get out of the fucking car. I'm not saying she knew like he was going to get killed, but the minute that gun goes off, she knew where that bullet came from, and she went to get the fuck out of there.
She was sitting in the back seat. It's plausible that she saw the driver of the car reach around and pow and pop her as
pull up the film.
Okay, hold on.
You said you're
I'm gonna look for it.
I'm gonna go pee.
Okay. I should have just saved it, but I didn't, of course. Yeah, I always felt like she was in fear.
Yeah.
And
of course she was in shock. That's why, like you see, she goes to get out of the car. Then as she's climbing over the back, the top of the back seat onto the trunk, she's seeing her husband's brains there. So you see her grab some of it. Like that's her first reaction. It's like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like let me save this, you know. And then like you see the other Secret Service guy coming to the car, telling her to get back in the car, you know. I don't even remember how to spell Zapruder.
ZAP. I got it.
I think there's an S in it.
Just have a retard moment on how to do all this.
Just a moment of retard.
Big. There we go. Wait, no, that's not what I want. There we go. That's what I want.
I have to embiggen this.
See, right after the sign, he gets shot in the neck. So right around here, he's about to get shot. Watch him get shot.
From the driver or the
So right here, he's shot already.
right there
and
where he's.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
gone through the windshield.
All right, I see that.
See, he's already grabbing. So
Wait,
he's shot from the front.
Keep going back until that shot in the windshield disappears. It's always there. That dot.
It might be the sun then.
So that's not a bullet hole through the windshield. It's the sunlight reflecting off the windshield. Is that what you're saying? Go back before he goes behind the sign.
No, it's not there. Just a mirror. So, and then she looks over because he's already shot. Let me just put this in slow motion.
Yeah, that's good.
So he's grabbing his chest or his throat. And then you see,
And she's looking at him. She's looking at him.
and here's the other guy looking behind.
Who is
which
that?
has happened.
I don't understand.
And remember,
this.
he has been shot too. The driver, he's been shot as well.
That's not.
Not the
So
driver.
he's leaning
That's the
forward.
passenger.
Well, the mayor
Kennedy's
or
like,
whatever.
ow, I just got shot. And then you're going to see the driver turn over. He's turning over. And you see him lean back. And then he shoots him right in the head.
Okay, let's see what you're saying.
Or the passenger. This guy right here. is
Passenger, not the driver. The guy
Well, yeah, because the driver's already been
riding
shot.
shotgun. Yeah, the guy riding shotgun is
And
the
this
one
man shoots in between these two people and hits Kennedy right in the side
in
of
the
the
neck. Oh, in
No,
the side of the neck.
head. He's already been shot in the neck.
So he got the kill shot. Out of all those assassins, he got the kill shot.
Yeah.
The guy riding shotgun.
So he's like, "Ow, shit, what's happening?" She's like, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And he looks down. She's like, "What's the matter?"
That's after two other shots were taken at him. One of them was by Oswald.
Well, two shots have already happened. The driver's been shot and Kennedy's been shot.
And so has the mayor, that guy that your
Okay.
cursor's on now.
Oh yeah, and well,
in the middle.
sure. I haven't. And then boom.
Oh, pow! Boof. Go
You
back.
see where it hit? It didn't hit the
I hate
back of the
this.
head. It hit
I
the
see what
front
you're
of the
saying.
head.
I see what you're saying, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, let it play. Watch,
Oh, that's how
watch,
it ended up on her dress.
And
watch
see
her
how
reaction.
he goes back into the left? Back
Yes.
into the left.
Now
Back.
Watch
she's
her
trying to
reaction.
jump over the back seat,
Yeah.
away from the
And
guy
that's
riding
her.
shotgun.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh my god. Oh my
Keep
god."
playing it. Keep playing it. Yeah. Watch her reaction.
And there is no real brain. And she's like, "Get me the fuck out of here."
She had blood spat.
There's a piece of his head on the thing.
Yeah. Then she grabs it. And he's telling her, get back in the car.
Yep. Not letting her leave.
Pushes her back in the car so they could speed away to safety. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look, he leans
Yeah,
back.
I would say that guy was probably like one of those guys who was just there for the day and was like, yeah, get back in the car. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so he leans back and saw that Kennedy was shot in the neck, and he's like, "Oh, he's not done." And
I
then,
see what you're saying. It does look like there were two shots.
then he leans back. He actually
that when
shoots his
she
hand
hugs him for why would she hug him?
because he's
She's
shot
not
in the
hugging.
neck.
And then
She's
you're
not
right,
hugging.
Anthony.
yeah,
I
she's not
know.
hugging him. He's starting to hunch over. He's starting to slouch, and and she's going,
Right.
she's
All
like
right.
trying to, she's probably going like, what's going on? Oh my God, what's wrong? You know.
And like you have to
And
look
then
at his
pow,
hand.
and then his brains go out of the front of his head. Pow.
Yep. And then he goes back
All
into
over her
the,
dress. So if she just stayed in the seating position. Yeah, I see what you're saying. All right.
Blade Runner says, imagine if, in addition to him getting shot, if she
And then
had
she
fallen
gets out
out
so
of the
twice.
accelerating car and got run over by a motorcycle.
Yeah, or the guys behind him. Yeah, because there was a whole nother Lincoln Continental behind this one.
so I don't even think she was going for the brain. Or his
Not
head.
not originally, but
She was getting out of that car.
I think as she's crawling out of the car, she's just grabbing whatever she sees.
Her
'cause,
husband
like,
just got shot
her
twice
mind is probably like, maybe they could save him. You know what I mean?
by 3 different people.
Maybe Jackie shot him with a pocket pistol and then tried to get away.
Yeah.
Says Blade Runner.
Just the evidence.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, like, seriously, like 5 years later, she was in Greece. So
Wow. What would what would you do if you were the first lady and your husband was assassinated? Wouldn't you marry a Greek prince, billionaire?
crazy, man. Yeah. So the bullet, you saw how the right side of his head
Uh-huh.
goes psh, like that, right?
Entrance. Yeah.
Right. The bullet entered this side of his head,
Yep.
and
Yep.
It's
So
the,
the guy-
op-
'cause
it's
the
the
guy was
opposite of the opposite of what I think. When we do this, we
Yeah,
think
you're
it's
thinking-
it's the
yeah.
opposite of the opposite of what we think. The bullet in the back of the head and the brains, and
Yeah.
Wade Jackie O after he got shot in the neck. Ooh, what happened? And then pow! All of a sudden, his brains are all over her dress.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they covered it up.
It was easier back then than it is now.
to cover
is
it
it?
up.
Yeah, to
I don't
cover it
know.
up.
Look,
Thomas-
let's go back. Let's go back to Crooks. They
Yeah.
wiped his existence off the internet.
Squeaky clean. You mean
It's
like
almost-
with the cloth?
It's almost
Like with
easier because everything is
Yeah.
digital now.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work, so they had to have like a handful of people in that house. Remember, his father is a part of those psychiatrist groups that are very questionable going around right now.
Psychiatrist groups. Who would want to go to dinner with them? Oof.
Well, they
just
seem to
sounds
be
creepy.
they seem to be preparing a lot of these
What are they
people to
plotting?
do shootings and things like that.
Like, like little think tanks.
Well, yeah, like the CIA. Why wouldn't the
I
CIA?
hypothetically think if we were going to manipulate somebody into trying to assassinate the president of the United States,
That's very
how,
easy to do.
how would we do it?
Blade Runner says still that kind of precision to get 2 shots that landed is not feasible without her being turned into Swiss cheese, in my opinion. Well, that's why the second shot came from
Sure.
inside the car.
Yeah,
The first shot came from outside the car. The second shot came from inside the car.
the second shot was never supposed to happen, but again, since it was such a small caliber weapon, even though because the
When
bullet
you
was
say
probably supposed to hit
Small
him in the
caliber.
head.
What do
Hit
you
him in
mean?
the
Like
throat.
there wasn't a lot of gunpowder behind it, and the projectile was really small, and the gun that it was fired from
It was probably like a 22 rifle.
wasn't the
something, I
best
think.
of guns.
It was
Yeah,
probably a
the shooting-
22
If you wanted to
rifle,
kill
yeah.
the president of the United States, you would pick something a little bit more potent.
No,
Guy the person
not if you're
probably
setting somebody up.
yeah, the person probably panicked and like shot too soon, so it wasn't a kill shot.
Panicked.
If he had waited a little longer
That
until he
is-
was closer,
Did he not panic? He
he
was on
probably
a
would have
sloped roof.
got him in one shot.
Yep.
Blade Runner says another theory I always wondered about if there wasn't something built into the car that was already aimed for his seating position. Yeah, the Secret Service guy driving the car.
Yeah. You see him lean. He
Yeah.
lifts up his left arm, or he lifts up his right arm, and he uses his left hand, and he goes like this. And he goes, "Tah!" Just pops him right in the side of the fucking head.
Mm.
And that's where you see the wife, after he starts leaning like this, she starts crawling out of the car to get away.
Yeah. So he was shot twice in the neck and in the head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who shot him in the neck?
No one ever has found out.
Who shot him in the head? The driver.
The driver. Or the guy in the gutter.
Or
I'm gonna say
the
the
guy in the
driver.
gutter, but that's a 10% chance of that happening.
Well, that's all speculative, and I haven't
Yeah.
seen much to like.
And Oswald's shot missed.
I don't think Oswald took a shot.
Or he didn't, or it didn't shoot in the first place.
He was just there to be there to make sure he got in trouble.
Patsy, what a schmuck. What a schmuck.
And then they
How
used
could he
Ruby
let
Tuesday.
himself be manipulated like that? What a dickhead.
What are you talking about? They do assassinate
Oswald.
more prime
He got
ministers.
shot in the head for his troubles.
7 more prime ministers have been murdered in like the last decade than the last couple decades combined.
Prime
So
ministers from
they are
where? Which countries?
everywhere. Google it. How many prime ministers have been shot in the last 10 years? Retarded how many they've killed. So apparently Oswald was infatuated with Justin Trudeau's father, Fidel Castro. That one really wasn't anything. This is a picture I never saw. I never saw him do the pump fist before. I thought that was interesting.
I spell assassinated. Yes.
An FBI report reveals that Lee Harvey attempted to enter Cuba using an underground network designed to smuggle people into the country. Document states that Oswald contact Jesus Christ, pro-Castro activists in hopes of securing secret passage to Havana. He was reportedly frustrated when he was told that they needed official approval from the Cuban government. Sources describe Oswald as desperate to leave the U.S. and willing to take extreme measures to get to Cuba. And apparently,
This was after the Bay of Pigs or during the
it was as well
Bay
after.
of Pigs.
Yeah, definitely after.
Ish. You know, his presidency wasn't that long. It was less than one term, wasn't it?
Miscellaneous Rockefeller, Com, and CIA files. That's interesting. An intelligence report states that Lee Harvey told members of the pro-Castro group that he was willing to do anything for the Cuban cause. The document describes how Oswald aggressively pushed for his support for Fidel and tried to recruit others to join him. He also reportedly got into heated arguments with anti-Castro activists, calling them traitors.
What was Cuba doing in 1963? Russia wanted to put nuclear missiles. In Cuba.
I think London was using Canada and other countries to give themselves to Cuba.
Why would they give themselves to Cuba? Who the fuck is Cuba?
So they can get all the contracts.
Russia wants it, so they could put nuclear missiles. You know, lob it over the Gulf.
No, that was.
We hit Texas.
Blade Runner
Dallas.
says, and nobody in that huge crowd of people got hit like with the more recent incident. The official story is just not credible.
Yeah.
And then he's at 15% of American presidents have been shot. Dangerous occupation. Yeah, we were going over four presidents have been assassinated, 4 have been shot, and another handful have been like shot at, but like somebody else got hurt. And then I was going through like not only that, but then there's been other plots that have been
Thwarted.
Thwarted,
Intercepted. Yeah.
Like with Obama, like Trump has had like 8 plots thwarted.
Damn it. People hate him. 8. Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, when you're fucking up that much money, bro, you're.
I mean,
But this
The
goes back
amount
to
of money.
2017. Like, you know what
John-
I mean?
John
they were trying to
Hinckley-
get him then.
John Hinckley has his own YouTube channel where he plays the guitar and sings folksy songs. And he shot President Reagan because he likes Jodie Foster. Was he pointed? Was he manipulated? Was he fucked with? This John Hinckley Jr. fellow.
God, did he have psychiatrists and stuff like that tied to him?
Ida wasn't trans.
So
Did he act
7 and
alone?
9. 7 and 9. Did you back a damn 30 thing?
No.
You should. We're $76 away from being at our funding goal, and we're already
Hoot.
shipping.
Hoot. I didn't.
You should.
I might.
You might. We're shipping now. We're shipping before we even hit funding goal.
I might.
I'm just saying, do it.
Okay.
So here's an interesting intelligence report.
Dirty thing.
Lee Harvey distributed pro-Castro leaflets in New Orleans, but some activists questioned whether he was truly loyal to the cause. The document reveals that Oswald acted alone and refused to help others, which raised suspicions among pro-Castro organizers. Some believe he was trying to provoke anti-Castro groups rather than genuinely support Cuba. A witness noted that Oswald was eager to create a scene and seemed more focused on drawing attention than actually helping the movement. It's like that Weather Underground stuff right there.
They wanted to surround us. Isn't Castro Justin Trudeau's father?
Looks like it. That's the joke.
Surround us. They've got us surrounded. What are we going to do now?
Intelligence revealed Oswald identified himself as a member of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, but investigators found no proof he was officially connected to the group. Yeah, it just seems like he would go to these places and rabble rouse the crowd and all that.
Like Hitler.
He never looks the same in any picture. You ever notice that?
Yeah, like especially like this one.
Well,
Yeah, he looks goofy as hell there, and then the next one that you scroll by, he looks like kind of like he could be like James Dean's brother.
Yeah, he has a giant neck and a chin.
right.
But in this one, no chin, no giant neck.
They had the power of visual media, but now we have it. I mean, I see what you're saying. Is it the same guy in both pictures? Is that the government fucking with me? No, my government.
Well, they stated that they had someone who used his name and who dressed like him. So it was a big, as this word says here, it was a big project. It was a big project. Killing a president isn't no small task.
To what end? What threat did Kennedy pose to whomever orchestrated his assassination? Why did they want him out?
Him and Bobby were going after the mob. They were. You can go inside the government if you're just staying strictly like, and don't get me wrong, like back then, and even now, but especially back then, a lot of government and mafia were trading hands. Then there was the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, and you also got to remember back then.
And they all converged on Daily Plaza on the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying. Listen, yeah, I'm not saying like it was like 4 different attempts, like to just happen to pick the same day. No, I'm saying you can just take your pick of like where this all originated from. You know.
Yeah.
This could go back to Joe. Like a lot of people think this all stems back from just their father.
Yeah, having a hatred for Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like the whole Manassas group, and you got to remember, inside of the Kennedy family themselves, they hate each other.
Yeah,
So,
it's family.
in this clan, like there's whole different groups of Kennedys that
You
just
gotta
do
think
not
to
get along
you
with each
gotta
other.
think to yourself, like, out of the, well, I think there's more. Out of the three main Kennedy brothers, Bobby and John get popped, but we let Teddy live.
Yeah.
You know?
Chappaquiddick, bro. Mary Jo
Yeah.
Kopechne.
Yeah, and you remember Teddy Kennedy?
Oh, I drove off a bridge. I think there was a girl in the.
Oh yeah, well that's funny because Teddy Kennedy killed his wife like that, and Joe Biden killed his wife like that,
Oh dear, and then married Jill.
and
Yeah.
then married Jill. And remember, Joe Biden's wife
They're
was
taking
pregnant.
notes. He took notes.
Yeah, Joe
They
Biden's
also
wife was
witnessed
pregnant when she died too.
Southern institutionalized racist policy. Yeah, I mean, there's 100 different reasons that you could pick for why John, because everybody forgets that, like, because Bobby got, he when he got killed like a year later, not even.
He was running for president.
Yeah, when he
That
was
was
running.
Sirhan popped him right in the head, didn't he?
Yeah, but like him and John were on the same page as far as like what they wanted to get accomplished.
Yeah,
Which was what?
crush the CIA into 1,000 pieces and throw it into the ocean, amongst other things.
OSS.
Take out the mafia.
Yeah, everybody
Take
wanted to know.
out the communists.
How hard could it be? What could possibly go wrong? Do you think
crazy
Trump
that
is
back
doing
then,
anything that revolutionary?
Yes.
Shit.
Think about it. Back then, Democrats were, there was a group of Democrats like John and Bobby Kennedy that were trying to take out communists.
Yes.
They get taken out, and then 40 years later, and almost every single Democrat is a communist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And remember, right before that,
Yeah.
and you remember they're the KKK as well. The Democrat Party are the KKK.
6 or 7 years later. That's right. It was a little bit longer. It seems like it was right after, though.
You don't own anything. You don't even own the language because we decide who's a male and who's female.
Oh my gosh! I'm not
And
gonna
men
do
can
that.
get break, but whatever. Yeah.
I see it's hard for you to grasp, but this is real, man. It's real.
Yeah.
Australia.
It's
Australian.
hard running what I've grown up to believe my entire life.
Yeah.
I didn't care. What do I care? Okay. Kennedy was assassinated from the time I was born until now. They've told me that Lee Harvey Oswald was the person who did it.
Yeah.
And
Same
it
here.
was- yeah.
But in the 90s, that was all
Why should I care beyond that?
because those stain killers are
Because
alive.
Oliver
today.
Stone told you to. No,
They're still alive today. You remember they killed John Jr. as well. So they
In a
killed
plane.
John.
In a plane crash.
Yeah, and they killed his wife.
In the same plane crash?
Yep. And then
Oh, they
Hillary
died
Clinton.
Okay.
And then Hillary Clinton, because remember, John Jr. was supposed to win that Senate seat.
He was
But as
cute.
soon as John Jr. died, Hillary Clinton got the Senate seat.
John Jr. would have been a really cute senator.
And they killed him.
I might have moved to a state just so I could vote for him.
And you know another
That
thing,
cute.
Robert Kennedy has that thing with his voice.
Yep.
His sister also has the same thing with her voice too. So they didn't want to kill all the family members,
No,
but
just
they at
some
least
of them.
wanted them to stop talking.
Just the right ones. Okay.
And
Make them shut up.
And Bobby Kennedy, remember AOC, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, used to run the front desk for Bobby Kennedy.
Did she?
Yes, she did. That's how she got
Wow.
started in politics, is working for Bobby Kennedy.
I love AOC. I love everything about her. She's so stupid, and yet she is everywhere. In the hallowed halls of Congress. This little feisty bartender. I love everything about her. She's so dumb.
Feisty bartender trained by the Kennedys.
Did you watch those videos I gave you links to? The Mr. Reagan 2-parter basically like the story behind AOC?
Mm-mm.
Because he does mention her having a small stint, working for Bobby Kennedy, but that, but like the guys that get their hooks, you gotta, dude, I think you probably know a lot more about those guys than I do, but
Mm.
the guys that get their hooks in her and basically like are her puppeteers.
Well, it's her parents. Her parents have pimped her out.
Well, her brother.
Her boyfriend was really helpful because she's still with that
Her
same
family.
guy when she primaried that guy
But
in New
her
York.
brother-
the
her-
first
her-
time that
her-
she won the election to get into Congress, she
her-
primaried that one slick guy, and her boyfriend was there, and I think they are still boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but her brother
And
was
he
the
was-
one that went to these guys that were looking for somebody that they can control, and like basically it was like if you were in Hollywood and you were an actor and you handed your headshot in with your little like resume and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Ish,
basically
kinda.
what the brother did. The brother went over, like she didn't do it. The brother did.
But what's wrong with that? Why?
What's wrong with
what's wrong with somebody like AOC getting elected to Congress and is being talked about to primary Chuck Schumer in the Senate?
Oh, no.
What's
she is
wrong? What's
not.
wrong with that? She was a bartender, and she's cute, and she's feisty. You go, girl.
All right.
Well, 'cause
And she was afraid, even though she was 2 miles away from the worst day.
No, that's
9/11.
she's just she's trained and she does her job well, so she's gonna go far.
She's as like a boy band. Like
All right, well, be quiet. Be quiet. The CIA and Australian intelligence secretly blocked the Warren Commission release. Now, why would Australia block the Warren Commission release? Classified letter from Richard Helms to Australian Secret Intelligence Chief Sir Charles Spry reveals secret efforts to keep Warren Commission document CD 971 hidden from the public. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Helms admitted the CIA inquiry was sparked by pressure to release the Kennedy assassination documents, pressure that has not materialized. And Richard Helms in this document says there is every reason to keep the document out of the public domain. And that's because London participated. Oops.
Seven.
Oh, you
I'm
said
putting
link.
I'm putting 2 links in the chat.
I
mean,
have
in the
no
pri-
idea
in
where
the
to
private
look at
chat.
the chat. In the
In the
private chat.
private chat.
Can I see the private chat?
Yeah, it's
Seven,
in
will
the,
you be quiet?
it's in the bottom left corner. These are check. It's a 2-part documentary on the brains behind AOC. Just watch it on your free time.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is it longer? Pretty long.
The first one's 22 minutes and the second one's 20 minutes.
This memo coordinates the global intelligence coordination to suppress key files tied to JFK's death.
Oh, I'll
And
tell you
this-
one thing real quick. Cenk Uygur is involved with getting AOC elected.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
All right.
The KGB spy who handled Oswald in Mexico City, the one who actually got Oswald into America, he vanished as well.
Vanished off public record.
Yep.
Hmm.
So it's, I think, 3 or 4 people who have vanished since Trump's death. Or Trump's, pardon me,
Oops.
since
Oops.
Kennedy's death. Wow, that was terrible.
Your Freudian slip is showing, bro.
Yeah. Oh, he was. So the guy who supposedly was KGB
There it is.
disappeared, and in 1971, Kostikov abruptly left Mexico months ahead of schedule, sparking speculation that he fled after being exposed by KGB defector Oleg Lilyan. So, if the guy who let Oswald in America was KGB in 63, in 1971, it turns out that he's a defector. I didn't know that.
Where did he defect from?
He from Russia, KGB,
and joined the United States and let Lee Harvey Oswald in the United States?
Well, that was in the 60s. So in the 60s, this Vladimir was the guy running the stamp office and the visa office in Mexico City. Yeah. And he's the one who stamped Oswald into America, which is interesting because Mexico City is a decent distance away from the border. But in 1971, basically 10 years later,
it's the capital.
He disappears. So that was, when was Kennedy shot? 68?
63.
63? So he stayed in that position for a long time. That seems suspicious.
It all seems suspicious.
Oswald was nervous and in a hurry. An intelligence report states that the Cuban embassy official in Mexico City described Harvey Oswald as nervous and in a hurry when he tried to obtain his visa to Cuba. The document reveals Oswald insisted that he needed to reach Cuba immediately, but failed to provide proper documentation. Embassy staff told him he would need Soviet approval first. Interesting.
The Mexican embassy told Lee Harvey Oswald they would need Soviet. Okay. Right.
And this is from the Rockefeller Commission report in 1975. Interesting. Oswald insisted Cuba had approved his visa. I bet my life on it.
So does any of this that you're reading confirm your bias?
My bias?
What? Yeah, your bias. Because you think there were multiple shooters. I think there's one.
Blade said,
any of it contradicted your bias?
No, not really. The Australian population was barely 10 million. That's less than a large American city. Australia is controlled by the Crown of England, and they have a viceroy or a governor general, whatever you want to call him, but that's a viceroy.
Mm-hmm.
And the viceroy sits higher than the prime minister. The viceroy is the highest position in
the king
in a government that uses the British Westminster system. So like Justin Trudeau doesn't, well, he's gone now.
Who does he answer to? Who did he answer to?
They answer to the governors general of Canada, which is a female. In Australia, they have a governors general / viceroy. All of the Commonwealth states have governors generals.
It's like a Burgermeister, Meisterburger.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what that means.
It's German, I think.
So here's another interesting photo. It's so crazy how good the photos look back then, but with the cameras they had, they're such shit. I always found that interesting. Harvey Oswald made an eerie statement to the Cuban embassy officials in Mexico City, declaring, "I'm going to be important." Documents state that Oswald appeared desperate to secure a visa to Cuba and became agitated when officials refused his request.
Did he throw a fit at the airport?
The CIA agreed to keep the Warren Commission's records secret at the Australian government's request. A letter from Australia's Secret Intelligence Director, Charles Spry, warned against releasing document CD 971, which referenced anonymous calls to the Canberra embassy before and after the assassination. So Australia was getting phone calls that you shouldn't be getting.
Steal.
There's every reason to keep this document out of public. Oh, I know that one's regurgitated twice.
What would it?
I'm sorry.
Go
Blade
ahead.
Runner says they never could pressure his wife Marina to give any information.
Yeah, because she was just.
She raised 2 babies, didn't she?
What female spies that come out of
daughters.
Russia ever talk
Right.
in history? Any of them? Like, I don't think any of them.
Lee Harvey Oswald had 2 children. I don't know if they had children. Lee Harvey Oswald might have grandchildren.
Look them up. Are they popular now?
I don't know.
Are they running BlackRock?
They had 2 daughters. Lee Harvey and the Russian babe had 2 daughters.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, here's another version of that picture. Interesting. I wonder what he's holding in his hands there.
Children, 2.
2 daughters. Marina June Lee Oswald was born in 1962. And Audrey Marina Rachel Oswald was born in 1963. Oh, okay. So he had 2 children with his wife Marina. June Lee Oswald, born 1962, and Aubrey Marine Rachel Oswald, born in 1963. How do I find out if they had any kids? Or do I want to? Am I that?
CIA blocks release of the Oswald Denmark cables. A CIA classified cable flagged in Copenhagen communication requested traces of Lee Harvey Oswald. Unless missing portions of the director cable have some bearing on Denmark, the station cannot make a case against the release. We would insist crypts be deleted. The CIA wanted to keep all ambassadors and liaison services in the dark, demanded deletions before public release.
Oh, yeah.
So we got Copenhagen. So they didn't even want embassy staff talking about this shit.
So why does Australia care?
Because they're part of the British Empire.
In 1963?
Yes. Australia is a servant nation to King Charles. They are a Commonwealth state. They are not their own country.
Right, but don't they have a thing in England where the head of Australia has to go?
So all of the Commonwealth has to.
Allegiance to the crown? Or
So
to the state?
No, to the crown. Like anyone in any Commonwealth state has to go to King Charles, bend their knee, give their credentials to him, and say that they.
William. It'll be William in I think 2 or 3 years.
We'll see. All the Commonwealth has to vote.
Charles is going to die soon.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Got all the money in the world. Keep yourself alive.
Yeah.
Former KGB Director Deputy Nikolov reviewed 5 volumes of the KGB files on Oswald and concluded that Oswald was never controlled by the KGB, which I firmly believe.
Oswald was never controlled by the KGB.
Nope. It's all Britain.
But you think somebody pointed
She's still
Oswald
alive,
at
by the way.
President Kennedy? Who? the wife?
Yeah,
You
Is
said
she?
she's hot?
she's 83.
Is she a
Oh, she's
grandma?
still
Oh,
alive?
God bless her. Go.
Her second husband just died last year.
Oh, she outlived two. She had two husbands and a girl.
The one that she married after Lee Harvey. Yeah.
I had no idea about that.
She survived two husbands.
Yeah, she's got 3 kids. One by the second guy, and I think 2 by.
Lee Harvey. Yeah, I said. Yep.
Well, it just says that Lee Harvey had 2.
Lee Harvey Oswald had 2 daughters with his wife Morena. June Lee Oswald, born in 1962, and Audrey Marina Rachel Oswald, born in 1963.
Blade Runner says, "Who would marry the widow of the most infamous man in history at that time?"
The guy who was like, "I'm gonna bang her.
Yeah.
I can fix her."
Yeah.
I can fix her.
Apparently, he did. They stayed married all this time,
And had a
1965
baby.
to 2024.
And had a baby. I know.
Well, they had a
right?
baby like right away.
So Lee,
Here's more Australian shit. CIA communications show agents in Melbourne and Canberra investigated Soviet bloc vehicles and suspected contacts after Lee Harvey Oswald was assassinated. No vehicle traces or license matches were found. HQS requested information on the Polish driver connected with Russian diplomatic establishments in Australia.
Polish driver driving. What was he driving? The Lincoln.
Interesting. The embassy stayed in close contact with Australian intelligence, advising. Okay. So they had fake. This is in. It was a 1952 dark Buick. In Soviet Australia. I don't know. It just seems like you remember like the Weather Underground and some of those environmental activists, like the environmental anarchists. They always got like 1 or 2 assholes in their unit or whatever. You're muted. But they would like, and they're doing it today, just not as aggressive. They're like painting, like throwing paint on the
Soup on paints, and they're super gluing themselves to Volkswagen and Tesla dealers and setting them on fire, and it's just
the same people.
coordinated. I think somebody is,
A lot of
grassroots.
propping up to Castro ideologies. How the CIA built secret dossiers on targets like Oswald. And this is the 201 is what they did on General Flynn. The 201. That's what the FBI uses, the 201 paperwork. A declassified CIA manual from 1974 reveals how the agency tracked and categorized key individuals. The 201 system assigned each person as a unique number and built a full dossier of reports, biographic data, and operational notes.
The Jesuits did that.
Uh,
I remember learning that about them.
Suspected agents, intelligence sources, hostile operatives, or individuals drawing heavy correspondence earned a full 201 file. I wonder if I have a 201 file. Pretty sure with a...
I bet it's thin and boring. If you
Probably
do.
is.
Yeah, it's thin and boring.
His files were fed directly into the main index for rapid retrieval. So he was used as an example for training, I guess. You know, they can monitor everyone, but they won't stop you when you start your crime. They won't stop you.
They can't
They
get
won't
to you
stop.
fast enough.
Or they don't want to. The State Department officially cleared Oswald's return in 1962.
Return to the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. A new release documents reveal that Abram Chaez, State Department legal officer, was one of the two officials who approved Lee Harvey Oswald to return to the U.S. from the Soviet Union. Chaez had direct clearance to covert discussions on National Security Council issue operations and was tied to top figures like Archibald Roosevelt Jr. Interesting. Representative Francis Walter accuses Chaez of being soft on communism, criticizing passport rules that allegedly expose FBI and CIA files to potential Soviet sympathizers. Interesting. Did the U.S. secretly want to make peace with Cuba? I think that was one of the plans, and that's one of the reasons why they killed Kennedy, to be honest with you. And you remember when they did the Bay of Pigs, they were not letting Kennedy know what they were doing. They were doing all this shit behind his back.
Generals, his chiefs of staff, his cabinet.
Yeah, they were doing all this shit behind his back. And remember when he found out about this shit, didn't he like kind of like shut it down or whatever? And that's why essentially the Bay of Pigs issue escalated the way that it did. It failed. And I heard rumors over the years that, you had a lot of people who have been in the CIA and the Army and Navy and stuff like that. And they were sent over there and they watched their buddies die on a fucked up mission. And they blamed JFK for fucking that mission up. Because it's supposed to be their special operation. They were supposed to take over Cuba.
It was assassinated for revenge.
A lot of things. It seems like JFK pissed everybody off.
At least one person off. Enough.
Yeah.
To effectively kill him.
The U.S. may have been open to fixing relations with Cuba and give him an opportunity to improve if he feels so inclined. Relations between who is the message meant for and why, after years of hostility, was the U.S. suddenly considering a change? Because Cuba is a joke. What is Cuba? The size of like...
It's strategic. If you put a missile silo on that island, you can easily strike Texas before Texas has a chance to strike back.
But you can do that with submarines. You don't need an island. You want what's on that island.
Sends a message.
The Soviets would never have struck us. Never.
Then why would we let them put a missile silo on Cuba? Why?
We didn't. I think that was all a game.
All of a sudden, it didn't happen. It wasn't...
They were setting everybody up for the okie doke. They were even going to set up JFK for the okie doke. And he found out about it and he's like, fuck this. You are not doing this to me. So he shut it down. And then a bunch of people fucking died and the operation failed. And it was embarrassing as shit for these operators. And you've already pissed off the alcohol people. You've already pissed off all the landowners, the shipbuilders, the military industrial complex, the CIA. You said you wanted to smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Like you're just going and going. And there's nothing back then to stop these people. There's nothing. How are you going to stop the Mormon Mafia and the Secret Service? Tell me how.
I don't
back
know
then.
if I want to. Sounds like they get things done.
And look, we got, this is the Senate. Never mind. So this is this got released in 1998, but it was immediately resealed and has just been unsealed. Why is that such an issue? Why would you? So I consider the Cuba thing kind of like the Israel thing. Like Gaza Strip, what's that, like 40 miles square?
Yeah,
It's the size of one of our neighborhoods in a big city.
it's about that big. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Cuba, even though it's a little bit bigger, it's the same thing. It's a tiny goddamn thing. It's easily fixed.
but it's an island.
Yeah. And they were going to set up Cuba for the okie doke.
Gaza has beachfront property on the Mediterranean Sea. I think that could be turned into a great resort,
Yeah,
like
we got my
like
other
a
tenant
tourist
rated.
destination.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's not.
Peace groups used for intelligence to cover in Washington, D.C. Oliver Corbinson joined the Catholic Association for International Peace to cover while monitoring Negotiation Now campaigns and anti-war protests. Documents detail several of the CAIP's 40th annual conference in '67 and themed around the selective conscious objection in the age of conflict. That's a weird thing. And it was held in Durbarton College in Washington, D.C. Interesting.
What year?
67. And you also got to remember, another reason why they killed JFK is because of AIPAC. The AIPAC, the Jews who have every congressman but like 3 or 4 congressmen under the belt. They were called the American Zionist movement, or the Zionists they were the Zionist something. And JFK was going to make AIPAC register under the Foreign Registrations Act, or what it was going to make them register as foreign agents. And the Zionists were having none of that, because the Israel money had to register under foreign operatives. And you can't have AIPAC.
American Israel Public Affairs Committee.
Yeah.
Those guys.
And there's some of the people who helped kill JFK.
They sound pretty swell. Just by their title, I think they're swell. Who doesn't want American Israeli Public Affairs Committee?
Me.
That sounds good.
So that's interesting. U.S. intelligence tracked Navy deserters in Tokyo. Files detailed secret monitoring of meetings between East German officials and 4 U.S. Navy deserters in Tokyo, flagged as highly sensitive and a strict dissemination of controls. The memo, dated in 1967, describes classified operations by the Soviet Bloc Division and the Far East Division, marked Raidat Hapsha Radio.
Good job.
The material was restricted to the top agency leaders. Document confers internal tracking of U.S. military defectors abroad and a close watch on communist bloc contracts. Interesting.
So now the Japanese are involved in the JFK assassination? Where did they have them? In the cherry trees above?
I think this is painting a picture that the State Department monitors the people that they make do crazy things.
Yeah, keep track of them. That's a good idea.
Painting a clear picture of them. Yeah.
In case you have to scrub their social media history later.
The CIA monitored the Catholic Peace Group Negotiation Now campaign. Collected materials. This is the same thing, but this is data sheets. So even back then, they were monitoring Catholics. Because remember, the FBI just got caught going into those
Catholic in the
Catholic
White
churches.
House.
Yeah, you know that Catholic church that they came after in Virginia? They actually put agents into. You remember how everyone's losing their mind about putting FBI in the parent-teachers conferences and inside of Catholic churches on the East Coast?
I don't remember.
Just happened like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The church that the FBI were putting their people into in the CIA is the church that Steve Bannon's father made.
Oh, that's a good reason to put FBI there, because Steve Bannon's father made it or built it.
And they still practice the old Catholic rite, pre-Vatican II stuff.
Pre-Vatican II or Vatican?
So they still have
II?
like Latin Mass and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's Vatican I. Latin
Yeah,
Mass.
pre-Vatican II.
Yeah, it, open it up for the masses and do Vatican II.
If you want to call it that.
Little Irish guys like me.
Oh, this one was cool. I thought this was interesting. So this is about, so in the JFK files, they actually put in there how Mao Zedong and Fidel Castro were trying to take over Brazil in the 60s.
That would have been cool if they could do it.
Well, they just did it with
Why not?
they did it today. They did it. They got Javier Bolsonaro out of there. Do you know Javier Bolsonaro's son had to flee Brazil and he's now gonna ask America for
Asylum. I didn't know that. So they took over Brazil.
Yeah, the guy who controls Brazil now, they stole the election from Jair Bolsonaro. They have the same voting machines we do.
Huh. I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, and so you remember the guy who runs Brazil today, he actually ran the country before, and when he got out, he actually got put in prison for fraud.
You know who else did? Hitler. He got
It's where they train you. It's where they train you. Orban, or not Orban, but Erdogan in Turkey. He went to prison, became a leader. The black guy in South Africa went to prison, became a leader, but he's a Jesuit.
My struggle in prison. Yep.
The lady who runs Myanmar, Burma.
I don't know.
She got put in prison, and then she became the leader, and they put her ass back in prison. So
that's an interesting life.
Yeah. And then
I bet she could write a book.
Yeah, and then the lady in Brazil, she used to run. I forget what she ran. The one before Jair. She was put in prison, or she was a president and then got put in prison in Brazil. And in South Korea, like the last 4 out of the 6 presidents of South Korea have all been arrested.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is South Korea, is that a corrupt little country? What's going on there?
It's one of the most corrupt places on the planet.
Is it? But it's a crown jewel of democracy because
no, it isn't. Are you out of your mind? There is no democracy in South Korea.
What about North Korea?
Definitely not in North Korea.
Yeah.
South Korea is controlled by like 4 cults. And like one of the biggest cults in South Korea is the family that runs like Samsung.
Okay.
Samsung phone people.
Yeah, I have one.
And then that lady who just got arrested, the last president, the lady president, who's still arrested now, and her chief of staff lady, or she got arrested too. They're a part of like a sexual cult in Korea.
Ew.
And they got put in power. Because you remember in Korea, they have like that Christ church thing where all these Koreans believe in Christ. and they have these giant weddings with like 10,000 people.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen that? It's weird. South Korea is
South Korean Christian wedding.
Huh?
South Korean wedding, Christian weddings.
Yeah, they do mass weddings for this cult they have in Korea, and they're very powerful. Like the guy, you remember the Japanese guy who just got killed? They just killed the Japanese prime minister.
No.
When he was running, they murdered him when he was doing a speech. He was a part of that.
Pull it up.
That clan that runs Korea now. And remember, they just arrested the president in Korea, and they just let his ass out last month after they arrested him. Yeah, the Moonies. There you go. I couldn't think of the word.
Okay.
Yeah, but like Korea is crazy. Crazy. Never want to be Korean in my life.
They have all the good coastline.
And a lot of our military.
Yeah. Of course.
The JFK files releases show that the CIA was planning and executing black propaganda operations in Brazil. Black propaganda is a type of disinformation carried out by the government or organization to deceive the public by making the information appear as if it comes from an adversary. These operations often involve spreading rumors, forging documents, and crafting narrative to serve strategic interests.
That's sneaky.
Yeah. So it would be cool to get Brazil on our side.
Do you fall for that kind of shit?
What?
I probably do. Whatever that just described. I probably fall for it.
I like action. Steve Bannon has totally trained me. I always was like autistically into conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
You know, because I just read and read and read and read. Like I have read more legal documents than I can remember. That's all I used to do. And it turns out just the action is just easier to reconcile with. And then you can start adding conspiracy theories to it if you want, or you can find facts, but it's action.
Act. Kill the
Castro supporters moved into United States political circles.
Kill JFK. You must act. On your mark, get set, go.
Castro infiltrators exposed inside anti-communist networks. So you remember when Castro was doing all this, the French money was pushing real hard to give Castro a boner. They're like, yo, you don't want America, you don't want Russia, you know, this is what you want. You want
the French,
our money. You know, you want our money. And then if you take our money, you get to stay in power forever. You never have to leave. That government stuff, don't even worry about it. That's what they do. So
the French.
And they will keep a government, the facade, but they just run it like straight mafia. So in 1958, he had his people in our government.
Who's that goober?
Okay, so they're playing around and so this is. I've noticed something that's going on here recently. In Serbia, you had they were popping smoke bombs and throwing them in their Congress, in their government,
because they did a gay thing or something.
Yeah. That's in Hungary today. Hungary made it so no pride parades can happen on the streets.
Right.
You can do your pride parade, but it has to be inside of a building in a private area.
Right.
Longer, and so they pop smoke bombs in there too.
Out in public.
Yeah. And then you have Turkey is kind of going through the same things as well. They keep having outbursts in their government as well. So like all these people with Moldova, Lithuania, like they're all having these major problems. Interesting. And one of the reasons why I think they're doing what they're doing in Turkey is because they're going to re-divvy out Syria. They're going to slice and dice that thing back up, and you're going to have
these borders that we have today are sort of kind of arbitrary, aren't they? That people just decided, okay, this hunk of land belongs to Saudi Arabia, this hunk of land belongs to Israel. This the way.
Well, no, no. That's actually so. Arabia is a sovereign nation, and they actually lay claim over their territory, and they lay claim to their borders, right?
Arabia.
And then, so let's use Canada for example. Canada still has territories. Greenland is actually a territory. It's not a
Denmark.
It's not a sovereign nation.
Belongs to Denmark.
No, it doesn't.
They belong to themselves.
But
they rely on Denmark's aegis.
They have been taken over by Denmark. Denmark has taken them over like we took over America. Yeah. And it was by brute force that Denmark took over Greenland. Brute fucking force. Murders. Death. Destruction.
Good for them. They accomplished something.
That was interesting. Got a couple, I'll go through some more tomorrow and some other people will do some stuff. But there was a couple new documents in there that were I hadn't seen the ones where the US government is specifically working with like Australia to quash the commissioned report through Congress. That's something I didn't know. Very interesting. I hope more comes out. We'll never get an answer because the answer's already given. So, like, what are you looking for? The document that says so-and-so killed JFK. Are you really going to get that? I don't think you're going to get that.
Yep, that's the one everybody's looking for. That's the one everybody wants.
Interesting.
All right. I got to jump off, guys.
All right, bro. Thanks for hopping on.
Okay, bye. Yeah. See you next time.
I'll catch you guys later.
Later, Gator.
Peace.
So it wasn't a total letdown. Not a total letdown.
It's interesting. It really is. I mean, yeah. President was assassinated in 1963. More than 60 years ago. And now, all of a sudden, it's declassified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think stuff like this shouldn't be classified that long. But if it is, that means we're still not under.
Everybody's dead a good long time. Until everybody involved is dead.
No.
A good long time.
No, you need to.
Yeah. As soon as it happens, you put it in front of the people.
It should not be this easy to kill
Cover up
presidents and prime ministers.
And where's this Crooks fella, Thomas Crooks? What do we know about him? I mean,
you think he's dead?
Suppose if I'm curious.
Wait, no, that's the one who got shot in the neck. Yeah. No.
The little fella who shot President Trump in the ear. That guy. It sounds like he's a patsy just as much as Lee Harvey Oswald was. But according to you, the guy who shot President Trump is more successful because he actually caught a bit of his flesh, a bit of his ear. And Lee Harvey Oswald missed President Kennedy altogether. So this Thomas Cook guy is a better assassin than Lee Harvey Oswald, let's say. Can I say that?
Why is my chat different?
I don't know. Are you doing this on YouTube? I don't think I.
So on here, I don't see Sinatra. I see Praetor over here, but I don't see it here, and I don't see it. Do you see Praetor in Sinatra's comment?
I'm not looking on YouTube. I'm just looking on this Restream. It's a restroom. Praetor 7, yes. The fact that they were watching him beforehand is pretty wild, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, so on my chat overlay on StreamYards, all I have is Blade Runner and Courtney. But if I look over here, I can see Finn, Praetor, Courtney.
I see Lord Sinatra. He's saying, yo.
Oh, it's... Wait a minute.
It's
What?
Courtney, Fellowship of the Oddballs. Yo. Richie Dupe.
Type in the chat real quick.
Who, me?
Now it says K-pop sucks. Why is it so far behind?
How do I type in the chat? Do I have to go to YouTube? Oh dear. Let's go to YouTube.
Everybody type right quick.
I can't. I don't know where to type. It's not giving me an option here. I can type in the. Okay.
Why isn't it? Oh, there it is. It's popping up from the top. Oh, I see. I'm retarded.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, we knew that.
It comes from the top.
That's from the audience.
What's up, Finn? Are you still here, Finn? I didn't mean to ignore you. So the chat is backwards. It comes from the top down instead of the bottom up. Okay.
I'm not seeing what you're seeing. All right. In this restream, I can see the chat, but there's no place where I can type in the chat. I don't think. Need help?
All right, I'm getting it now. It's making sense.
I can type in the private chat, but not in the public chat.
I like how you can put the overlay right on there. It's pretty cool.
It looks good. Yeah.
Right.
Pee. I gotta pee.
All right. Oh, this is interesting. Look at this. he said I have to pee. Now I gotta pee. I gotta go pee. All right, so here's a interesting document. How do I make it biggie size? Oh, that sucks. So this is from 1963. At 9 a.m. on August 19th, 1963, in Washington, D.C., I went to see Mr. Kippingen, director of the Special Counsel, the Service Department of the State, at 1901 Pennsylvania Avenue on the 11th floor. I told the director that I have information about President Kennedy. The director said, do not mention name of President Kennedy, only respond to the questions. The director said to tell us what will happen to Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald then. I said Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald would be killed after Kennedy. I said I will take the truth drug to tell the truth. The director told us, tell us who else get killed in this country. This is really written weird.
Well, I think they're just speaking. I think they're just talking. So in text, it looks funny.
Is this real?
It's released by Trump. It must be real.
It looks like somebody added shit to the bottom of it here. See if we got anything new. Yeah, nothing new.
So is this anything earth shattering to you? Has it anything that you've seen so far could shake your schema, your conviction of what happened?
No.
President Kennedy. No, nothing.
Here's a different video.
Has anything has any evidence that you've seen strengthened your position?
No, nothing's really changed. But here, look at this Zapruder film here.
Okay. Get big.
See his hand?
No, do it again.
Tink.
We're looking at the passenger. Okay. Go back to where the red line is. Go to the red line. That frame. That one.
Boom.
That one. Okay. No, that one with the red line. Pause on that frame.
Okay.
There. Okay. So, all right. So on the right side of the red line is the guy riding shotgun.
Yeah.
And on the right side of the red line is President Kennedy's forehead.
Yeah, and right? He shoots with his left hand. Boom, right into his head.
Boink, and then he flips back. Is this the one in the neck or the?
He's already been shot in the neck.
Oh, this is the headshot.
Yeah.
All
There's
right,
his hand.
all right, show the splatter again. The splatter. There it is. Oh, okay. All right. So go back to the splatter. Oh dear. There. There. See how it's going? It's going that way. It's coming out of the front of his head. If the bullet comes in this way, does the splatter go out that way?
Well, Anthony said that like he shot him through his head. I think it
Through the back of the head.
out of his head. Like he has a pneumatic pistol. It's not a gun. It's like a
So the guy
air
riding
compressor gun.
shotgun shot him that way, and okay, and his head went backwards. Pow, pow, backwards. I don't know. Makes me want to grow a watermelon and shoot it with my 9mm, and record it with my cell phone to see where the splatter goes
That's terrible.
in the back of my F-150. Yeah. That's cool. I kind of like this setup. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty slick.
looks good.
Got all the sexual lighting going on.
I know. Well done. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable or nothing, but you're looking kind of bisexual tonight. Gay dollar. Yeah.
It's yet to happen.
But it could. So you're saying there's a chance.
No. All right, see if we got anything else here. Oh, here's that Hungarian shit I was talking about.
Hungary. Budapest. And this was after they voted on telling the trans community to fuck off, right?
This is when they voted to stop that shit.
Yeah. That's crazy. Reminds me of the January 6th guy with the moose horns or the bison horns.
Did I flip my camera back the right way?
I wasn't looking at you.
Yeah, the flag is right now. Yeah.
You usually face the other way. Usually face that way.
Yeah, the stars are on my right hand.
Yeah, right. There's your arrowheads right there. Usually over there. So maybe you're backwards.
Oh, is it over? Is it done? No, not that one. This one. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. Okay. Can you watch the video in that size? Yeah.
Trans fat.
Trans fat.
What about that one?
America. I'm a woman. Thailand. I'm just a lady boy. Yes. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares.
Infidels.
Thank you so much for joining us. Love the headpiece, the all oppression chic. Very drip.
You can come to Gaza anytime and we will throw you from the roof, you homosexual dirt.
Do you
The
hear?
iron
You
chic.
don't want to throw me a rooftop party.
They are so welcoming and inclusive.
So shukran. And you are also very welcome to come here to America.
We will come. First we finish with Israel and America is next.
Great! So I guess we'll see you soon.
Yes, it would be a blast.
Can't wait. It'll be so multicultural.
Ya Allah, you are so stupid.
Thank you so much, Abu. We love you.
I won't even bother killing you. It's a waste of bullets.
Good vibes only.
It's better you just kill yourself.
That's hysterical. Ew.
A free hoodie. Name the 3 requirements to be president. 35. Born in the U.S.
Don't you have to go kiss that thing in Israel?
What the? That's your
What
final
is the
answer.
third one?
A
I
free
could-
hoodie. Name the 3.
Wait, stop. Pause. I could name the 2 ones. You have to be 35 and you have to be born in the U.S. and that I have it right here.
And you have to kiss the wall in Israel.
To find it. No, that's
3
not-
requirements to be president. 35. Born in the U.S.
Don't you have to go kiss that thing in Israel?
What the? That's your final answer.
Which article? Where is that in the?
I have gender skin.
Okay.
I have gender skin color dysphoria.
Yep.
I am a white lesbian trapped in a black man's body. I'm 6 months pregnant and I love my husband, but the LGBTQ community won't accept me. I have gender.
It's also stupid, gay dollar. It's also dumb. What was I looking up?
What separates humans from animals? 7.
What? 90? No, 1% of DNA.
The Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah, it's a good sea, the Mediterranean. As far as world seas go, the Mediterranean is a pretty good one. President. What's the third one? What is the third qualification to be president? You have to be 35 years old. You have to be born in the United States. Constitution must be natural born citizen. And have been a resident of the United States for 14 years, which
Oh, really?
yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's listen to this.
Believed that the CIA killed Kennedy.
No. You're talking to a guy that's read the entire JFK file.
You've seen all the secret
Yeah.
stuff?
I've seen all of that, and I've seen the 7 pages of the 9/11 report. I've seen it all.
You don't say that to people that you can't tell what you saw. Should the Kennedy
brother.
stuff be released?
Yes.
Is there anything there that is like, is anybody alive that...
The problem is, the things that we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you guys are asking.
How long did Cash say that?
That's about as far as I can go on.
How long ago did Cash say that?
He did this interview sometime this year or last year.
He was confirmed as the
It was
FBI
right
director.
before it. Man. And he's kind of saying like what my brain is looking at this.
It
like,
looks like Big Brother. Like they're all
Yeah,
thrown into this house.
the assassination
Play little
of Kennedy was like just one objective in the whole plot. You know what I mean?
To do what?
To
The whole
take over the
plot.
United States government.
And have they succeeded yet? How long have they been at it? How long have they been doing this? The Jesuits and the Jews and the bankers. Have they succeeded in taking over the world?
Well, they've had control of us since 1890 something to 1913 is when they got almost total control.
18 something. So after the Civil War, before World War One, they had control of us.
So after Andrew Jackson and all that, we had the first Bank of America, the second Bank of America, and the third Bank of America, and they kind of collapsed. Well, they collapsed by design, like Madison and all that was fucking with them.
He's on a $20 bill.
On the third attempt, they were like, enough of this. They stopped trying to nationalize banks, but you still had states that were printing money, right? And then so in 1912, or actually around 1909, 1910, they started working real hard to create the Fed. And then on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, they created the Fed in 1913 when no one was in Washington.
And now it's not really beholden to anybody except for themselves because they're the Fed.
Yeah, the Fed is a private business.
Who controls it? Who are they answerable to? Governments,
lots of people,
mafias, concrete mafias, world leaders, Xi Jinping.
I mean,
Xi Jinping.
He's got a lot of problems to worry about in China. I don't think he's really trying to take us over.
Putin, what does he care about it?
It's so, and then it took from 1913 to the early 70s to remove the gold standard from the dollar.
Oh, Fort Knox.
So it took basically 60 years.
We still haven't seen the insides of Fort Knox. I think that was promised a couple months ago by Trump.
I hope we have gold.
I do too. I hope we have a lot of it. It seems very valuable for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
The problem is the things that we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you guys are asking. That's about as far as I can go on it. But like the answers you guys want.
So they buried.
What is Kash Patel's take on the Kennedy assassination?
They buried.
Does Kash Patel think that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone? Pow! Or
Why do you say that? No one's thought that for years. Everyone knows he was shot twice.
It's still plausible. It's still
It's not plausible. That's been dismissed a long time ago. Like in the 90s, that was dismissed. So for the last 20 plus years, you're still on this lone shooter JFK with Kevin Costner movie.
Why does it matter to me?
Yeah, you're stuck in propaganda.
It might be, yeah.
And so,
I deserve to give myself a propagander.
So the way I look at it, it's like kind of some of the documents that I was just reading. You had Australia, Copenhagen, London, Antwerp, all these areas. There's like, they shoved espionage and hid their espionage in the JFK files. So that's what Kash Patel is saying. The murder of Kennedy is essentially over with, but the documents that they have inside of the JFK file are about other topics, not just JFK. And that's the same thing with the 9/11 files. So
did you think 9/11 was an inside job?
What do you mean by that?
Just yes or no? Well, okay. Okay. I think 9/11 was what it seems to me that it is. That terrorists managed to learn how to fly airplanes, well, at least 4 airplanes, well enough to crash them into the two largest buildings in New York City, one of the lowest buildings in Washington, D.C., and then wreck into a field in Pennsylvania that was, I can't remember which one that was aimed for.
Well, you've seen a plane hit a building, right?
I remember watching it live on TV, 9/11.
Right.
In Tennessee. You know, I was very far removed.
So what I think they
my
did,
countrymen were going through in New York.
so what I think they did,
It was
hold on.
obvious that two planes flew into two of our fucking buildings.
Yeah. So in the 9/11 buildings, you had the World Trade. The market moved off of the computers that were booted up in America, right? In those buildings, you also had some of the largest diamond.
A lot of information was lost.
Yeah, you had some of the biggest, like some of the largest Jews outside of Antwerp and stuff like that had their diamond supply in the World Trade Center.
The physical diamonds? Physical diamonds.
Yeah, like shit ton of diamonds.
Which are not really rare.
And yeah, they're not. And then they disappeared. And then you also had companies like Lutnick, who's our commerce secretary. And Lutnick had a numerous amount of floors on the top of the World Trade Center. He had over 600 employees who worked in the World Trade Center who died in one day.
He had one floor in the World Trade. Wow, that's big.
No, he had multiple floors on top of 9/11 building.
Okay, yeah.
He had multiple floors. And this is Lutnick, our commerce secretary. Lutnick's brother was killed. Lutnick's best friend, his cousins, his best friend, everyone was murdered.
His family, oh, bless him.
His firm was in charge of giant funds, money. And so that's kind of what the two buildings were. You had facilities that moved a shit ton of money, and then in the World Trade Center, it was the headquarters for World Trade.
Yeah.
In Building 11, you had the FBI nuclear headquarters. You had the Securities and Exchange.
It was a hub. It wasn't a headquarters. It was
it's
CIA hub.
So it's a spoke.
You're right.
Of a hub.
A node.
Yes. But one of their main facilities was there. And then you also had the Security and Exchange Commission. They had all of their personal physical documentation of all of their cases out of that building. So you had cases from the Security Exchange Commission that were completely obliterated, right? And then also in Building 11, you had a man who went to college with George Bush Jr. And that man, his company in Building 11 housed all of the documents that refurbished the 9/11 buildings. So because you remember the Twin Towers were full of asbestos. There was so much asbestos in the Twin Towers, it was ridiculous.
It's killing people.
And then the Jews spent a shit ton of money to get George Bush's college roommate or college friend to refurbish the building. And that's where I think
scrub all the asbestos.
Well, that's when they put the thermite. That's how you got.
All right, let's not scrub the asbestos. Let's just knock them both down.
Yeah, you knock it down. And then also in the 9/11 buildings, you also had other really important businesses. So what they did is they flew planes into the 9/11 buildings
very accurately,
and they stopped all those operations. And when the World Trade Center went down, all of that world trade went back to Italy. So that hub, that headquarters that was in the World Trade Center, all of that went back.
Reverted back to
Europe.
Rome.
It left
Italy?
America, went back to Europe.
Italy, Rome.
So what also transpired after this is the SEC lost all those documents, they lost all those cases, they lost all that evidence, they lost all the employees, they lost all the
Rumsfeld
investigators.
was saying that the Pentagon cannot account for how many trillions of dollars.
Well, that was the day before. So then the day before, you had Rumsfeld come out on TV and said, "Hey, we lost a couple trillion," and the very next day, 9/11
Boom.
happened.
And
And
how
the
many
reason-
stories is the Pentagon? The Pentagon is has a big circumference, but how
6, 7
high
floors.
off of the ground is it? And
Not
can
high.
you accurately fly a plane?
Well, that was a missile. That was a missile,
Not a plane.
not a plane. You saw what a plane does when it goes into a building,
Yeah, twice.
and you saw what happened to the Pentagon.
But I
Then
didn't
you-
see what happened
if
to a
you
plane
watch
when
the
it
video-
crashes into a field in Pennsylvania.
That plane was supposed to
Haven't
go
seen
into
that
the Capitol.
Let's roll.
That plane was supposed to go into the Capitol.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's why you have those rumors and the supposed videos out there of John Kerry panicking and jumping to the floor. You
Of
remember
what?
hearing those stories?
Oh,
Because John Kerry knew about it beforehand.
I see. I see.
he
what
was,
you're saying.
he was causing panic in the Capitol building,
Yeah, yes.
but the plane never hit the building. Flight 93.
Weasel. Such a
Well,
weasel.
Flight 93 was actually shot out of the air. That's why
Which
there
one
is.
which one was 93? The Pennsylvania.
That's the one that they flew into the ground, but was really shot out of the sky and it exploded, and that's why all the.
Let's
parts were-
roll that. But that video with that guy saying "Let's roll," that's real. That audio of that guy, I believe, was taken on that plane as it plummeted into that field in.
Sure.
Pennsylvania. Let's roll.
Sure.
And somehow he sent it to somebody.
All right. So anyway, they shot the Pentagon with a missile.
Not a plane.
They flew 2 jets into 9/11. They pulled thermite, and they dropped both the buildings.
Oh, so the thermite was pre-planted. The thermite was
Yeah,
planted
that's the
before
George.
the jets flew into the 2 buildings. Thermite was planted strategically on the structure of the Twin Towers in order to bring it down
Yeah, they basically
and make
covered.
it look like
Yeah, that's why you had split beams like
that, because 2 planes.
Yeah, airplanes
Plane
can't make a 15-degree cut angle on steel. That's impossible. It's impossible. The only thing that can do that is something to cut through. All right, so putting that in your mind, the individual that I was telling you that went to college with George Bush, his company that did the refurbishing of the building, which basically put the thermite in that building, he was the one who also was the one who did the commission, the 9/11 commission.
That book, it was like 800 pages. I remember that book.
Yeah, so the guy who did the 9/11 commission went to
Was
college.
the guy who put thermite in the Twin Towers.
Yeah, and his headquarters was in Building 11
That's a pretty cool plan.
or Building 7.
If I was a villain, I would want to be the guy or the villain who could manage to put thermite in both of the Twin Towers and
Yeah,
set
they had
them off
years to do
and
it.
set them off at just the right time for them to collapse very perfectly.
And so after that, the Jew
I
guy.
want to be that guy. I want to be
What?
that bad villain.
So after that, the Jew guy who owns Lebrowski, whatever his stupid name is, he only has insurance for one of the towers.
Oh, why not both?
And when both the towers go down, he actually fights the government and wins the court case to claim insurance on both the buildings. So he got double the insurance
Even though he only had insurance on one of them.
to cover one of the buildings.
That's good work if you could find
And
it.
he sued
Mm-hmm.
to be able to claim both the buildings.
Attaboy.
And he ended up pocketing, was it like 1.2 billion? Like it was like 300 million per building or 600 million per building.
You know, if you
And
can
then
do
all
it.
that asbestos in that building flooded into New York streets.
Bro, it was an ecological disaster. I mean, 2 massive buildings crumbling to the ground and throwing dust into a densely packed city. That's ecological.
and
Everybody breathed that
you're
shit.
breathing in all that asbestos, all that concrete
Yeah,
dust,
all that shit.
the powderized, pulverized dust.
Bits of dead people too, because they vaporized, and you're bleeding up their
And so after
red corpuscles.
so they took down the 2 buildings, and then they took down the 3rd building. And the guy who refurbished 9/11, all of his documents and everything were in that building, and that got destroyed. And you know what happened after this? The FBI got their own designated nuke section.
What?
So the FBI,
What is the nuke section?
Nuclear and radioactive,
Like that bald-headed faggot in the Biden administration?
So the FBI didn't have their own strong arm branch, and Robert Mueller used 9/11. Robert Mueller is the guy who ran the FBI, and he's the one who took the uranium from South Carolina under Lindsey Graham and got caught on the tarmac. He got caught on the tarmac trying to sell our uranium on Russian tarmacs. You remember when that happened?
I
When
think
Mueller-
vaguely, yeah, I kind of.
Yeah.
But didn't
Yeah.
Hillary do the same thing?
Well, Hillary was controlling it because she ran the State Department. That's when Mueller was doing that. When Hillary
Yes, yeah.
was
yeah,
running the State Department for a
Yeah.
while. And so what that allowed the FBI to do is it opened its doors to more business. And then to give you a prime example of one of the effects of 9/11 in the FBI was able to steal all of these patents on these. So you know how Rolls-Royce magically got these patents for this space device that is nuclear propulsion? So it's a
Wait,
device.
what? Wait, what?
Rolls-Royce owns the patent for a nuclear propulsion device.
A nuke for what? What sort of nuclear propulsion device?
It's like
what is it going to power? A rocket, a car,
Yeah,
a submarine,
space.
an aircraft carrier? Oh, a rocket.
Space.
Okay, a
It's
rocket.
meant for space. So Rolls-Royce got that patent. But
They've
Rolls-Royce,
been making good engines for a long time. These
well, because they're
Rolls-Royce
gangsters. They will
Yeah, the engine
will pay
mafia.
top dollar.
They are the engine mafia.
So the FBI
They propel us,
got their own
literally.
nuke arm, right? And so the FBI was allowed to play in the nuke business all of a sudden. They are the ones who are tied to the same date range where they killed Seth Rich, who's a part of the Duke Panda people, the CIA, FBI people. Seth Rich, they killed him right on the street. And he was the one Warren Buffett did Aaron Rich's and Seth Rich's bar mitzvah. You haven't seen that?
Nope. I don't know who you're talking about.
So the
They're like
FBI,
fascinating people.
the FBI, because of 9/11, were able to walk into a new business arena, and they actually stole the patents from particular scientists here in America that you can make you can put a whole nuclear reactor on the back of a 18-wheeler semi truck.
Really, and power it
And power it. And
with steam.
And that technology, not only was it stolen by proxy of 9/11 by giving the FBI new resources, new goals, new power, new key cards and all that. It was a disaster, just like this JFK thing. The assassination of JFK was just a blip in the overarching objective that they were trying to achieve.
Who is they for this long? Who can? What human endeavor can last the test of centuries, if not millennia?
Royalty. King Charles's family, the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas, that's a 750-year-old family.
Hmm.
The Windsors are Saxe-Coburg-Gothas. It's a German family.
Hmm. Good for them. I think I have German in me. That much German in me.
So anyway, the FBI was able to get new access to new technology, new patents, and they stole that shit.
Cutting edge.
So it's basically like in a nuclear submarine. You know how they got the nuclear power plants in that submarine? They're actually they're able to downsize it to where it fits on the back of a fucking 18-wheeler tractor trailer. And Rolls-Royce somehow got the patents to make it the size of a goddamn crate.
Like they're so
small.
This big.
Yeah.
Smaller than a gas tank. Let's say a 23-gallon gas tank, but can take you forever, propel it forever because it's nuclear. Because it's.
And so they stole all that technology. And so during 9/11,
your power has a half-life of 10,000 years.
Yeah. During 9/11, what they did to our financial system and what they did to our patent system here in the United States, 9/11 was the precursor. It's what they used to do what they did. Just like when they killed Kennedy, it's what they used to do what they did.
To hurt us. Some motherfuckers on this planet don't want the United States of America to exist. They want it gone.
You know who gets first dibs on Greenland if it's ever coming up for contract renewal?
Us.
King Charles.
Oh, that guy. Dang.
King Charles gets first dibs on Greenland.
And then William. King Charles is not going to live very long. It'll be William.
Do you know Disney World in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
In order to take that system apart in Florida, you need permission from the heir of the throne of the British Empire.
Why?
Because that's how the rules are set up. That's why it's so hard
by Disney and the royal family. Disney and the royal family.
They have first dibs on the dismantling of Disney. Just like they have first dibs on Greenland.
So, okay. I like your idea of making Canada 3 states.
3 states.
Instead of just one. Then you added another one. It wasn't Cuba. Was it Greenland? Yeah. Not Mexico. Mexico, you would not have it as a state.
Mexico would stay Mexico. Greenland should be 4 states. Or excuse me, Canada should be 4 states and Greenland be the 5th. That way we have 55 stars.
Right.
And all you got to do is
make it easier to put it on this bit of the flag.
So we've tried to get Greenland 3 times. This is the 3rd time we've gone after Greenland.
What other presidents have gone after Greenland?
You got to look it up.
All right.
One of the guy who bought Alaska
from Russia.
He had a
1950. What year was that?
Yeah, he had a lot of desire for Greenland. And then
second to the last state.
And then before that, there was another time. I don't know if it was during the McKinley era or something like that. We have made efforts to take Greenland, but it's never been as serious as it is now. And I think it's very important. Yeah, it's very serious. It's because the northern pathways from Russia to Norway and all that, going to the North Pole to Canada and Greenland.
It's very strategic.
And those pathways are opening because you have those the icebreakers. So you can just take an icebreaker through and have a container ship right behind it. So you don't got to go all the way around going through India and all that stuff. And go down either through the Suez Canal or past South Africa. You don't got to do that. You can just go right over.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been very clever about our waterways and how we traverse them and how we ship goods and services across them. But there's pinch points, and that's one of the, like, what is it? The Gulf of Vermouth, the Black Sea, where Yemen is pinching off a piece of the Suez Canal or something.
Yep. And then you have the Houthis who keep shooting missiles at us because they want to block the Suez Canal. But the reason why the Houthis are doing what they're doing is because it keeps shipping prices up. So it used to cost like $600 for a container ship. Now it costs like $1,800 to $2,400 per container on a container.
But for the most part, ships have been passing through that pinch point for quite some time, quite peacefully, quite profitably.
Not recently.
I know, but they're like the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal. There's one in the Great Lakes where it links all of the waterways. The Louisiana, the Gulf of Mexico, the Delta of the Mississippi River,
Ohio and Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's big stuff. So it's like, so I am on the same plane of thought that Kash Patel is explaining. Like these events where they do these crazy fucking things, it's just to mask the other shit that they're doing and that they're getting away with. So while everyone's like, oh, JFK, really, it was allowing London, Brussels, Rome, and Paris to expand their power after Kennedy died.
Don't look at my left hand. There's my right hand.
Just like the Gulf of Tonkin, when that's an example. In Vietnam, you know, when McCain shot that ship and he landed the airplane on the ship and he blew. So that's a Gulf of Tonkin, and I'm talking about something else McCain did. So I just combined two things.
Yeah. You conflated, bro.
The Gulf of Tonkin was a kinetic event that was a precursor to a bigger issue to cover what would lead to be the Vietnam War. And then you also had when the Israelis shot up USS Liberty or whatever it was. I forget which ship it was, but remember in the 60s,
one of our ships,
70s, you had Israel attack our ship, and they tried to start
motherfuckers.
Yeah, they tried to start a war with Egypt and all of that.
Get away with it.
Well, and then after that, the Iran issue started, and that's how we got the Shahs in Iran.
Shah of Iran, yeah. Ayatollah Khomeini, yeah. 444 days, bro. They had our people there under Jimmy Carter. 2 hours after Ronald Reagan took the oath of office, those 444 hostages were released.
Yep, all by plan.
Yeah.
In that fake issue, even though it was real for those 400 people.
It's real, yeah. It's real.
But it was fake.
It's real.
Israel.
Jew know what I mean.
Jew know what I mean.
The assassin was the driver in the car in which he was riding in Dallas on that day, and it was plainly visible in a film withheld from the public.
Now, you brought that film with you. Let's take a look at that if we can. Here's the film. Go ahead and narrate this for us, will you?
Well, it took me 16 years to find this film because it has really been withheld. And what you're seeing here is the motorcade on Elm Street passing in front of the book depository building. Kennedy has been shot in the throat, and Jacqueline is pulling him toward her, trying to comfort him, and she's in shock. At this time, you see the driver turn around with a pistol in his left hand, firing over his right shoulder, and shoots the president directly in the head.
Here's a repeat of it, yeah.
The weapon, watch the driver, his name is William Greer. He was, in fact, a...
Do what?
I have a question. Dark Gift earlier was saying that Kennedy was shot from the back of the head. That's why the blood spatter came out of his forehead, right? The blood spatter came out of Kennedy's forehead, right?
Anthony was kind of saying that like he was shot in the temple and then it came out this way, basically.
But this is saying that it was the driver. So the driver was, let me see, the driver was in front of him. So the bullet came this way, but the spray went that way, right? If you shoot a watermelon with a 9mm, does the spray go that way or does it go out the back of the watermelon?
Put your nose in the middle, see the magic. Nothing happened.
Does that make sense? I know what I think I know what I'm saying. Who are those two European queers dancing? Look at them. That's adorable. Those European homos. You know. I bet they have good sex together. The guy with the green tie. What are we doing, Gay Dollar? What are we doing on this planet, on this earth? Beautiful. Oh my. He stood up, did he? Oh. Yeah, he stood up. Motorcycle. Oh shit! He got run over by a car and he stood up.
I know.
Look at him. He said, "Nope, don't help me." Look at that. All four tires, bro. Look at him. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh yeah, what'd you think of this?
She's gone.
Or did they fire
her? That's what I heard. I haven't followed it, but it is indicative, then, isn't it, that somebody is so eager to shove their microphone in your mouth, even if you're the president of the United States of America, that they're going to brush your cheek. I mean, at first it seemed like an aggressive act, but I think the president played it off as not so aggressive as impotent.
Right.
It's like if you did that on purpose, it didn't accomplish anything. If you did it on accident, I forgive you.
Can't make it bigger. I guess I gotta get rid of this, huh? There we go. So this is one of the documents I was talking about earlier. That so this was declassified, and then in 1998, you see him. He puts except brackets, and here it's like it blocks out Israel for each one of the.
Israel redacted.
Yeah. And these documents coincide with the Zionist movement, which today is called AIPAC, as to one of the reasons why I think JFK was pew-pewed.
Well, of course he was pew-pewed.
Yeah.
That fact is not a dispute. He was assassinated. By whom is the question? I say Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman. You say that there's at least 3, maybe 4 other people who took a shot at him. And at least one of them killed him. And at least one of them killed somebody else.
Right.
So if you hear hooves, don't think zebra, think horse.
Stupid.
You know what I mean? If you hear galloping, brr, brr, you know, it's not a zebra, it's probably a horse. I think you're hunting zebras. It was all concocted and orchestrated by somebody. And it was effective that, you know, JFK was successfully assassinated. Hooray! Goal achieved. To what end? What happened afterwards? I mean,
So in this document here, it says shooting down of pirate planes, possibly of U.S. registry.
No.
So this is a document that is basically supposed to be unredacted, but it's still redacted. Hot pursuit or attack on raiding boats on the high seas or other countries' territorial waters. Attack on another ship or exile raiders on the high seas or in another country's territorial waters.
Piracy. Yeah. Fuck pirates.
Oh, some Jews graduated tonight, and there was a shooting.
Typical.
So you see all of them laying on the ground, all these brand new soldiers.
I disavow. What is this?
It was a graduation for Jews.
From what were they graduated from?
Joining the military. They were having an event.
I bet their parents were very proud.
We got anything else we want to talk about?
No. It was thanks for inviting me, J Dollar.
You were welcome.
Yeah. Might not accept.
I don't really see anything that's not much news. So we get FOMC tomorrow, and
what does that mean, FOMC? I'm not even sure I subscribe to your YouTube channel, Gay Dollar.
And I think Powell is supposed to talk tomorrow. Yeah, today and tomorrow.
Huh.
Let's see what happens to the market. All right, any last words?
No. Bye.
Me either. Goodbye.